Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October 11, 2023 East Whiteland Supervisor meeting. I'm Scott Lambert, Chairman, and at the table to my right is Vice Chair Rich Orlow and Peter Fixler, Supervisor, and also Bernadette Kearney, our Solicitor, and Steve Brown, our Township Manager. Tonight's meeting is unique as we will be doing a two-part meeting from two different locations. And this is for everyone that's on Zoom or being recorded so you understand. Part one will be broadcast from the firehouse here as we have a large ceremony for promotions. Following this, we will reconvene to the boardroom and have the regular meeting at that point in time. So let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. On behalf of our staff and the Board of Supervisors, we welcome to this ceremony the families, friends, and colleagues of our officers receiving a well-deserved promotion today. I have one additional comment and accolade that I would like to offer in addition to the promotions, and that is this particular week, Greg Lewis achieved the Chief Fire Officer designation through the Center for the Public Safety Excellence. So we want to thank him for that. At this time, I'd like to turn over the program and the ceremony to Chief Yeager.
Thank you, Scott. So the program tonight is we want to promote 4 sergeants, East Whiteland officers, all to the position of sergeant, and 1 position to the new lieutenant slot that we've decided to fill. So for the sergeants, I want to say a lot of people here are in law enforcement, and you know the important position that a sergeant is in a police department. They're frontline supervisors tasked with reporting to the lieutenant and the chief. They're responsible for all officers on their shift, including activities and their safety. When the chief and the lieutenant are off duty, sergeants are in charge of all law enforcement in the township, as well as responsible for the safety of all residents and visitors in the township. They are also mentors and teachers for all officers. These sergeants were chosen based on an extensive testing process, including written exams, oral exams, and their work records. Now I want to introduce the sergeants. First, I'm going to turn the mic back over to Scott Lambert. Somebody must be late. I'm going to turn the mic back over to Scott Lambert, where he's going to open the meeting for the appointment of the officers to the position. The first appointment will be for the 4 sergeants' positions.
So at this point in time, I'd like to make a motion, or I would like to ask Rich to make a motion for the appointments of the sergeants.
First, I want to thank every member of our police department for their professionalism and help keeping all the residents and the day visitors safe. I know they do a very good job. I know that whenever I ride by and there is a police car in one of the little hiding places, I slow down.
Is that what you told me?
Shh. Okay, I'm happy to make a motion to promote Detective William Logan to the rank of Detective Sergeant, to promote Officer David Mara to the rank of Sergeant, promote Officer Joseph Wolf to the rank of Sergeant, promote Officer Thomas Ralph to the rank of Sergeant, and to promote Detective Sergeant Tricia Doyle to the rank of Lieutenant.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Promotion approved officially.
So I'll finish with the rest of my story. So the second part of this is the promotion of the lieutenant. So the lieutenant is an important position in the police department as a first level of administration, and they report directly to the chief of police. They are a conduit between the sergeant and the chief in making and enforcing policy. Lieutenants assist the chief as needed in all scheduling and staffing needs, including hiring and promotion. Their experience and dedication to the township is paramount, as well as providing support for all officers in all their needs, whether it be safety, equipment, policies, and sometimes personal problems as well. The lieutenants are normally tasked with that. Probably the biggest thing is the scheduling that the lieutenants do. It's a constant chore. Lieutenant Doyle was chosen after a written exam, an oral exam, and a chief's evaluation of their work history and decision-making process. So with that, I'd like to commend and congratulate Detective Sergeant Doyle as Lieutenant Doyle. So the second part of the ceremony will be the reading of the oath and the badges. So first of all, each person has a little bit of a paragraph that I'm going to read, and I will start with Bill Logan since it's on the top. So Detective Logan started his employment with the East Whiteland Township Police Department in 1996. Over the last 27 years, he has dedicated his life in serving the residents of East Whiteland Township. From 1996 to 2017, Detective Logan was assigned to the Patrol Division. During those years, Detective Logan was fortunate enough to become a member of the Westchester Regional SWAT team. Detective Logan joined the Criminal Investigative Unit in 2017, where he is currently assigned. During his time in the detective unit, his unit received an Excellence in Service Award in recognition for going above and beyond in a human trafficking case, which resulted in multiple arrests. Detective Logan has achieved many milestones over the years, but, quote unquote, Bill said his biggest achievement came in 2022 when he married his lovely wife, Ashley. Detective Logan looks forward to serving the residents of East Whiteland Township for many more years to come in his new position as Detective Sergeant. And I will say, personally, Detective Logan came out of patrol and didn't seem like he was real interested in detective work, but he made a name for himself, and he works doggedly on computer cases, fraud cases, and all the stuff that bothers everybody in the world about somebody stealing your identity. He works tirelessly, and sometimes I'm wondering what he's doing, and then weeks later he'll walk in and say, yeah, I found that person. And these are things that would just never happen before, so I congratulate him for that. Joseph Wolf. Officer Wolf began his career in law enforcement in 2012 with the Chester County Sheriff's Office, where he was promoted to the rank of corporal in 2014. Through his position, he helped supervise about 60 other deputy sheriffs during general operations within the Justice Center and throughout the county. He was also responsible for leading a specialized unit of fugitive investigators comprised of some of the agency's best deputies. Under his leadership, the unit conducted approximately 300 high-risk warrant fugitives each year, which resulted in a successful capture of about 100 fugitives, including the infamous Barry Baker, who made national headlines after assaulting a person with disabilities in Westchester in 2017. His team's efforts were recognized by the District Attorney's Office with the DA's Commendation Award. While at the Sheriff's Office, Officer Wolf was also a part of the task force that planned and coordinated the movement of convicted cop killer Eric Freen while he was in Chester County for the jury process in 2016. At the same time, Officer Wolf was also employed as a part-time police officer with the City of Coatesville Police Department for almost 5.5 years. Officer Wolf left both agencies to come to East Whiteland Township in 2018. He serves as one of the agency's instructors in several areas, including firearms, taser, warrant service, use of force, de-escalation, and defensive tactics. In 2020, he joined the Chester County Regional Emergency Response Team, also known as SWAT, where he currently serves as an operator. Most recently, he and his team were involved with the search efforts to capture escaped prisoner Danilo Cavalcante. He also helped his fellow officers by serving as the elected secretary within the department's association and as an elected delegate within the Fraternal Order of Police. Officer Wolf has been awarded numerous times throughout his career, including pistol and rifle marksmanship awards and physical fitness awards. He is pursuing his bachelor's degree in criminal justice through the Central State University in Ohio with an anticipated graduation date in 2024. When he's not working, he's spending time with his family, who are here to support him tonight. It's Joseph Wolf. TJ Ralph. Officer Ralph has been with the East Whiteland Township Police Department since 2006, when he was hired as a part-time officer. He became full-time in November 2013. He recently obtained his degree in criminal justice. He has also successfully completed leadership courses from Penn State University, including Leadership in Command and POLEX. During his time with the department, he has been recognized multiple times for his proactive police work. He is the only member of the department who has been awarded for saving a life and bringing a new life into the world. Officer Ralph holds various instructor certifications and currently manages our Firearms Division and Field Training Officer Program. He's a SFST field instructor and a patrol rifle, pistol instructor as well. It's TJ Ralph, Sergeant Ralph. Finally, for the sergeants, Dave Mara. Dave started his career in law enforcement in 1992 at the Chester County Prison. In 1994, he was promoted to corporal and held the position of supervisor of the Identification and Records Department. In 1996, he was hired as a part-time police officer with East Whiteland Township Police Department and was promoted to full-time in 1997. During his career at East Whiteland, Dave has received training in numerous areas of the job, including patrol investigations, interdiction, firearms, traffic, and supervisor, to include the POSIT program. Dave's been a firearms instructor for the department since 2004. He's been assigned to the patrol division from 1997 to 2021 and the traffic unit from 2021 to present. Dave is married to his wife, Gina, and has 2 children, Daniela and Nicholas. So, finally, Detective Sergeant Doyle to the position of lieutenant. Lieutenant Doyle grew up in Coatesville and comes from a law enforcement family. Her father was a PA state constable. Her sister is a lieutenant with Whiteland Township Police. Her cousins Thomas and Michael Doyle are retired lieutenants from Westlake Township and the city of Euclid in Ohio. Her cousin Timothy Doyle is a detective in Madison Township, and her cousin Paul is a patrolman in the city of Euclid, Ohio. Her uncle Dennis Doyle is a retired corporal with the Philadelphia Police Department. But they could have their own police department with all those people. Could be Doyle Township. Doyle graduated from the Pennsylvania State University with a bachelor's degree in public service in 1993. She began her law enforcement career as a Pennsylvania State Constable in 1999. In 2003, she began her career as a sworn police officer with the East Fallowfield Township Police Department. While employed at East Fallowfield, she became a certified motor carrier enforcement officer. She was the first female in Chester County to achieve this goal. In 2004, she was hired by the East Whiteland Township Police Department. In 2007, she was assigned to the traffic unit, where she stayed until 2009, when she joined the HIDA task force for the next 2.5 years. Upon her return to East Whiteland Township, she was assigned to the detective unit. In 2010, Detective Sergeant Doyle became a forensic interviewer. In this role, she has interviewed hundreds of abused children. Over the past 13 years, she has helped with the arrest, prosecution, and sentencing of dozens of child abusers in Chester County. In 2015, she was promoted to the rank of Detective Sergeant. In 2015, she attended the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police Command and Leadership Academy, where she received an award for academic excellence, and as a result, was asked to become an instructor. She was the first Pennsylvania instructor in this esteemed program. She received the following awards and citation: Unit Citation for Chester County HIDA for dismantling a methamphetamine ring in Chester County, presented by the Citizens Crime Commission of Philadelphia in 2010. Unit Citation for assisting in the corruption case against the Iron Workers Local Union of Philadelphia, presented by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in 2014. What else did you do, Doyle? I may have lost your paper. I lost the end of it, Doyle. One piece of paper. Okay, here it is. But she was also NJSACP Command and Leadership Academy with Chief Harry Wild Academic Achievement Award for Academic Excellence in 2016. Commendation from Chiefs of Police for Outstanding Response and Investigation, 2018. Unit Citation for dismantling a pedophile organization and rescuing 2 individuals, presented by the Citizens Crime Commission of Philadelphia in 2020. Merit Award for dismantling a human trafficking organization, presented by the Chester County Chiefs of Police in 2020. Excellence in Service Award in recognition of efforts in a human trafficking case, presented by the Chief of Police in 2020. Unit Citation in recognition of assisting in saving the life of a suicidal subject, presented by the Chief of Police in 2022. And commendation for extra contributions in making Chester County a better and safer place, presented by the Chester County District Attorney. And that she did. She made it a better and safer place. Congratulations to everyone. And what I would like to do now is have Sergeant Ralph, if you want to approach. Judge Bailey. He's got one there.
Ready? Ready. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right. Repeat after me. I, Thomas Ralph,
I, Thomas Ralph,
Being duly promoted
Being duly promoted
I'll tell you what, I'll hold on. Being duly appointed to the promoted to the rank of sergeant
being duly promoted to the rank of sergeant
for the Township of East Whiteland
for the Township of East Whiteland
in Chester County, Pennsylvania.
in Chester County, Pennsylvania.
Do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the constitutional laws of this Commonwealth.
and the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth.
That I will,
During my term of employment
during my term of employment
with the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
with the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
perform my duties with fidelity.
perform my duties with fidelity.
In my position as sergeant
In my position as sergeant
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
I will uphold,
I will uphold,
obey,
obey,
and enforce
and enforce
the law without consideration
the law without consideration
to a person's race,
to a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
sexual
orientation,
age,
national origin,
ancestry,
handicap,
handicap,
or disability.
or disability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Don't scream, whatever you do. Congratulations. See you guys. See you guys. It's two. Sergeant Wolf.
Again.
You go do.
We all set? Okay. Repeat after me. I, Joseph Wolf,
I, Joseph Wolf,
being duly promoted to rank of sergeant
being duly promoted to the rank of sergeant
for the Township of East Whiteland in Chester County,
for the Township of East Whiteland in Chester County,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth.
and the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth,
That I will,
that I will,
during my term of employment
during my term of employment
with the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
with the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
perform my duties with fidelity.
perform my duties with fidelity.
In my position as sergeant
In my position as sergeant
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
the law without consideration
the law without consideration
to a person's race, color, sex,
to a person's race, color, or sex,
religious creed, sexual orientation,
religious creed, sexual orientation,
age, national origin, ancestry, handicap, or disability.
ancestry, handicap, or disability.
Congratulations, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Sergeant Mara.
This is slow. Repeat after me. I, David Maurer,
I, David Maurer,
being duly promoted to the rank of sergeant
being duly promoted to the rank of sergeant
for the Township of East Whiteland in Chester County,
for the Township of East Whiteland in Chester County,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth,
that I will,
during my term of employment with East Whiteland,
perform my duties with fidelity.
perform my duties with fidelity.
In my position as sergeant
As my position as sergeant
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
the law without consideration
the laws without consideration
to a person's race, color, sex,
to a person's race, color, sex,
religious creed, sexual orientation, age.
religious, say that again,
Religious creed, sexual orientation, age.
religious creed, sexual orientation, age,
Right there. National origin,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap,
handicap,
or
or
disability.
disability.
Congratulations, sir.
Detective Sergeant William Logan, a.k.a. Billy.
You stand over here. I've learned that to stand over here. So you can see.
Yeah, so I can see.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, repeat after me. I, William Logan,
I, William Logan,
being duly promoted to the rank of Detective Sergeant
being duly promoted to the rank of sergeant
for the Township of East Whiteland in Chester County,
for the Township of East Whiteland in Chester County,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth,
that I will,
during
my term of employment with East Whiteland Township,
during my term of employment with East Whiteland Township,
perform my duties with fidelity.
perform my duties with fidelity.
In my position as sergeant
In my position as sergeant
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
the law without consideration
the laws without consideration
to a person's race, color, or sex,
to a person's race, color, or sex,
religious creed, sexual orientation,
religious creed, sexual orientation,
age, national origin,
age, national origin,
ancestry,
handicap,
or disability.
or disability.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
He said you were a cop, you would know how to do it.
It's a lot different when you have to do it with somebody else.
Congratulations, Bill.
Thanks, Chief.
And last, certainly not least, Lieutenant Tricia Doyle.
I repeat after me. I, Patricia Doyle,
I, Patricia Doyle,
being duly promoted to the rank of lieutenant
being duly promoted to the rank of lieutenant
for the Township of East Whiteland in Chester County, Pennsylvania,
for the Township of East Whiteland in Chester County, Pennsylvania,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution and the laws, the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the constitutional laws of this Commonwealth.
and the constitutional laws of this Commonwealth,
That I will,
that I will,
during my term of employment with East Whiteland Township,
during my term of employment with East Whiteland Township,
perform my duties with fidelity.
perform my duties with fidelity.
In my position as lieutenant
In my position as lieutenant
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
for the East Whiteland Township Police Department,
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
the law without consideration
the law without consideration
so a person's race, color, sex,
for a person's race, color, sex,
religious creed, sexual orientation, or age,
religious creed, sexual orientation, or age,
national origin, ancestry,
national origin, ancestry,
handicap,
handicap,
or disability.
or disability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
This concludes this portion of the promotional ceremony. I'm going to turn it back over to the supervisors to close the meeting or continue the meeting. But I will invite everyone, the Desmond Hotel, we have finger food and things like that with a cash bar from 6:45 to 9 o'clock. So anybody who wants to go up, there's small hoagies, cheesesteak, something or others, and tomato pie and little things like that. So we'd love to see you all there, and thank everybody for coming and supporting us.
Good job. Hey. Thank you, everyone, for attending. This concludes the part one of tonight's board meeting. Again, we will reconvene up in the boardroom for part two. Thank you. Board briefings. Executive sessions were held on September 28th, 2023 at 10 a.m. and again today, October 11th, 2023 at 4:30 pertaining to legal, professional, and real estate issues. Next, we've got some more good news on grant applications and grant funding that has come into the township. So if Catherine can provide us information on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to announce that the township was recently awarded a DCNR C2P2 grant for Backton Hill Park Phase 2 improvements for $200,000. And briefly, those improvements are additional landscaping, some playground facilities, and also walking trail improvements. So we have another application as well out for those same improvements. So we're just trying to piece together the matching funds to get those things done, hopefully next year.
Okay, great.
Are those already planned improvements? We still have to design them?
There's preliminary design, but they will need
Okay.
to be final designed.
Okay, we don't have to wait for the full phase two, what we talked about in the past, pickleball, whatever.
No.
Okay, all right, good.
As long as you're rolling. Gunkel Mill?
So this event took place last Saturday. This was the Gunkel Mill Open House, and my understanding is that there were approximately 60 attendees there. Big thanks to the Historical Commission, Police, Public Works, and all other staff involved for making it a successful event. The Historical Commission will plan to have more of these going forward, so be on the lookout as we advertise them.
Just to follow what Catherine said, I attended, and Jeff and the Historical Commission did a great job in walking people through the history of the mill, and myself got very well educated on it, and it was a good day.
Anybody here in the audience go to attend it? Okay. Trunk or treat?
All right. So the township is hosting a trunk or treat. The date is October 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. Hopefully we won't need the rain date, but if needed, it'll be Sunday, October 29th at 4 p.m. And just a plug for this is a registration event. So if you've seen the advertisements on the lobby or on our social media, we really need trunks to make this successful. So if you're a community organization or just a resident who'd like to organize one, please, we have plenty of space available and we'd love for you to attend. There's still plenty of time to put together a trunk.
And I hear there's a rumor that former Detective Doyle will be attending as Lieutenant Doyle. So that'll be your costume. Is that true? Yes. That's great. Nothing is working. Okay. But I got two lit up. Okay, now we're going to move on to the main event tonight, and that's going to be ratification and awards for the ARPA grant presentation. So what I will do is we will take each awardee, and the board will take turns reading a different description of their organization, and then we'll present a very large check to them. And
Scott,
a little background perhaps. Go ahead.
yeah, I thank you. ARPA, for those who don't know or remember, stands for American Rescue Plan Act, and it was one of the large federal acts that came out of the COVID pandemic, where the federal government provided billions of dollars to help the the economy recover and to help those who suffered from the economy, the negative impacts of the COVID pandemic on the economy. And municipalities across the country had to meet quite a few rules from the U.S. Treasury Department, and eventually the Treasury Department loosened the rules, and East Whiteland Township received approximately $1.36 million, some of which has already been used and some of which we have plans for. But one of the things the township staff and the Board of Supervisors felt very strongly about was that we should get some of these dollars out into the community. That we believe the intent of the act, while the rules were loosened up and we could have used them for necessary stormwater management improvements or really anything that we would typically spend money on or do, we felt it was important to get it to agencies that did the necessary work to benefit those who really suffered during the pandemic and continue to suffer. So we created a mini grant program, and we invited applications, and we received 6 of them. And you'll be hearing this evening which of those. I'm happy to say all 6 will be receiving some amount of money for their projects and programs. And as Mr. Lambert just said, you'll be hearing about each agency and their worthy programs and projects that they put on for the benefit of residents in our community and our school district and the county as a whole.
Okay. Catherine, do you want me to step down here or read from here? Step down? Okay. So you have page 2 and you got page 3. So I'll do Charles Lee first. And you guys, anyway. The first award is going to organization Children's Light. Children's Light is a Chester County-based nonprofit organization that provides expedited access to trauma-informed mental health treatment for children ages 2 to 18 recovering from severe abuse and trauma. Program participants receive private mental health support from a therapist in the organization's network at no cost. A Child Light collaborates with law enforcement, school districts, and numerous social service nonprofit agencies in the region to receive referrals and address the needs of the community. A Child's Light is being awarded $50,000 to help increase the number of children that receive services throughout the organization. If you would come up. Spend it all at one place. go to Whiteland Sparrow, and then you do.
That's fine.
Our second award tonight is going to the Katie Markley Elementary School PTO. The Great Valley Outdoor Classroom Pavilion Project, submitted by the Katie Markley PTO, seeks funding to help with the construction of the outdoor classroom pavilion on the site of the Katie Markley Elementary School. Due to the construction of the new Great Valley School District 5-6 Center, a previous outdoor pavilion behind the former Great Valley District Office was demolished. That pavilion is an essential outdoor classroom space to support and supplement the in-classroom learning experience and engage kids in physical fitness. The township is awarding $10,000 to help fund this initiative. I guess I overdid. Public library.
Okay, next recipient is Malvern Public Library. Malvern Public Library sought funding to provide additional reading support services to the community by purchase of digital resources for children's collection. The program focuses on the reading while listening method, whatever that is, which encourages reading independence for readers who may not have support at home. The township is awarding $15,400 to help fund this project.
Oh, thank you. So for everybody that's in the room that is in East Whiteland Township, the Malvern Public Library is our hometown library. It's called the Malvern Public Library because it services this whole greater area. And it is in the Malvern Borough Township building, but it is our library. So if you're not a library card holder, you need to see us and you need to come over. It is a beautiful library. We're going through some major renovations as well. We invite everybody to come, and this is very important. This, Steve will tell you. I have been emailing him for months about this, as well as Vicky. Vicky and myself are the two township residents that are on the board for the library, so we appreciate your support. And thank you so much for this. This is really going to help quite a bit.
Okay, next recipient is Cogwell. Cogwell is a nonprofit organization which helps colleges teach students active listening skills and peer support techniques. This program aims to create environments that support positive mental health and reduce the stigma surrounding mental health challenges. Cogwell's Listen Up program facilitates peer helper networks on campus and has a large chapter established at Immaculata University. They will use grant funds to expand the existing program at Immaculata allowing more students to access the services, increase the number of workshops, grow chapter participation, and expand community participation. The Township is pleased to award $25,000 to help fund this program.
Can we do it, John? We haven't done homeless. I'm going to start with the next recipient. That's Home of the Sparrow. They're based in East Whiteland. Home of the Sparrow is the only Chester County organization dedicated solely to assisting single women and single mothers who are experiencing housing insecurity by preventing homelessness through a combination of financial assistance and case management. The Township is awarding $50,000 to help sustain services, activities, and expand services to additional clients through direct rental payments for eviction prevention, education, for financial literacy skills, and creating long-term strategies for housing stability. They do fantastic work, and please come up and
Thank you all very much. We really, really appreciate it.
And our last but not least is the People's Pantry. People's Pantry has experienced a steady increase in food pantry clients, now at 150% of pre-pandemic levels, impacting their ability to store food and efficiently distribute it to families in need. People's Pantry sought funding to help with construction of a larger space to purchase, collect, and store large quantities and provide a more comfortable environment for their clients and volunteers. The Township is awarding $90,000 for the food pantry expansion. This is, in my opinion, a essential part and a great service that they provide to our people that are in need in our township and residing area school district. Please come up and receive your check.
Is anyone interested to know what the score is with the Phillies? We're up to 7-1. Bryce Harper, 2 homers. Don't get that guy mad. Okay, moving on with a couple of Eagle Scout presentations for these young gentlemen. I guess, Jay, if you would like to lead off, or Steve, you have some overthoughts?
I just want to briefly state that we're fortunate to have these 2 young men here this evening. Jay Tyson, who's handing out paper copies of his presentation now, who he and his friend and fellow Troop 78 member who's seated in the audience, Anish Nar, will present his project next. We're fortunate that they have selected projects that are to benefit East Whiteland Township. You'll hear about the projects here shortly. And I just want to congratulate these 2 young men. They are not quite yet completed with the Trail to Eagle, but nationally only 6% of all young men and women who embark on a scouting journey achieve the rank of Eagle Scout. So these young men are really the elite of the elite. And I'm very pleased to have them here this evening. And also to say I'm associated with this troop, as is Mr. Warlow, as we both had sons go through the troop.
And attained Eagle Scout.
Right, correct. Yes. So with that, Jay, it's all yours.
Hello, my name is Jay Tyson, and I will be doing my Eagle project in the Battle of the Clouds Park. Next. Just a little bit about me. I'm currently a Life Scout working on my Eagle. I'm a patrol leader in Troop 78. I go to the Haverford School, and I'm a sophomore there. And then I'm hoping to achieve my Eagle in early next year. Next. So I got this idea from the Township-wide Park System report. This contained a strategies for improvement section, and under that section there was the Battle of the Clouds Park. So some of these projects included putting flowering trees across the trail connector, putting shade trees near the parking area, and then overall providing more benches. I will be proposing a combination of these 3 projects. This project is significant to me because I used to live in Malvern. I still do live in Malvern, and I have used the Chester Valley Trail, which is the trail that crosses through this park. Me and my dad used to go biking there, so that's why it's important to me. Next. So this project, like I said, will be a combination of 3 projects. It will aim to improve the access path connecting the parking lot to this Chester Valley Trail. I will be planting 3 redbud trees across this trail, and then 2 shade trees, 1 red maple and 1 red oak, towards the parking lot. And then I will also be installing 6 lightweight benches. Next. So here are some photos of the trees. The sapling pictures came from Redbud Native Nursery in Media. And then there are also some pictures of what the trees would look like when they are grown. The redbud tree, it's really beautiful and it flowers in the spring. And then the red maple and the red oak tree, they flower in the fall. Next. And then for these trees, I would like to make some plaques for them. These will include their common and Latin names. They will be on posts low to the ground next to the trees. There's some mock-ups of what they would look like. Next. And then here are the designs for the lightweight benches. They're comfortable. They're mainly made out of 2x4s and they're 4 feet long. Like I said, they are easily movable, so we can move them anywhere in the park that you guys would like. These are exactly like the ones that a fellow Eagle Scout in Troop 78 did at Valley Creek Park. So I think they would be a great improvement to this park. Next. So for these benches, I would like to have bench plaques. This is a mock-up of what they would look like, and there's also some examples of other Scouts' plaques on their benches. Next. So these pictures are from the work site. They were taken in early September, and you can see the trail as it winds across the volleyball court and then connects to the parking lot. Next. So this is just a little diagram of how we're going to plant the trees. So I spoke to Mr. Traley's, who helped me with the landscaping, and he gave me lots of very detailed information about how to plant these trees. We're going to make sure that the holes are big enough for the root ball. He recommended that we do not, since the trees are small, they do not need to be staked. And we will also be adding a protective fencing to protect the trees from the deer. Next. So the image on the left is just an overview of the park, and on the right we kind of zoom in. The red circles are where the trees are going to go. You can see the 3 redbud trees closer to the connecting trail, and then the red oak and the red maple are by the parking lot. And then the benches are scattered all throughout this area. Like I said before, they can be moved. They're here if anyone wants to tie their shoes or get their bike ready, they have a place to do that. Next. So here's just a different angle. This view allows you to see where there's shade and where there's not. So I think shade would really be needed by the parking lot. And then this is just a different angle of where everything would go. Next. So my timeline for this project began 2 weeks ago at the Park and Rec board meeting. I got their approval, which is why I'm here, giving this presentation to you all. The next step will be tree planting in late October, before the ground freezes, and then we will build the benches and install them in November and December. Next. So this is my budget. It has 3 main categories. One is the bench materials, the second one is the trees, and the third is the plaques. So 2 of the bigger expenses here are the lumber. It's not particularly expensive itself, but there just is a lot of it to build the 6 benches. And then the redbud saplings, they're $110 each, and we're having 3 of them, so that's $330. So this project totals to around $1,000. Next. So who will be doing this work? I will recruit other scouts from my Boy Scout troop during our weekly scout meetings. These will include the scouts, leaders, and the parents. And my overall goal for this project is to reach 150 to 250 hours. Next. So some of my project advisors were Mr. Steve Brown, Mr. Neild, and then Mr. Traley's, who is the Senior Director of Landscape Planning at Natural Lands. And then some people from my troop, Mr. Steve D'Antonio, who is the Scoutmaster, and then Dr. Motel. Mr. Howcrag is the Advancement Chair for Chester County Council. I would like to thank all of these people as they have helped me a lot with getting the with getting my Eagle project started, and I would like to thank them. Next. And then I ask for your approval and also ask if there are any other questions. Thank you.
Jay, nice job. I've seen you do this twice, and you're nailing it the second time as well as you did the first time. Good job talking in front of everybody. One question I have that I would like to pose, maybe John Neal could help us out, is you're building these benches, and you're putting all of this effort into it. And what makes them great is they're mobile. They can be moved throughout the park wherever they're needed. I'm just concerned that they may be too mobile. And how can we, after you put all this effort into it, I'd hate to see any of these benches end up in somebody's backyard. Is there a way we can maybe figure out some way to
Yeah,
protect?
we've attached some picnic tables that like to disappear and different things. We can chain them into the ground or spike. So they're easily moved, but it's a lot of work if you want to steal them.
Is this your project? Is that a okay solution for you?
I would think so. When I had a meeting with Mr. Neal and Mr. Brown, they said that that there wasn't really a lot of benches stolen in the other park with these same benches. I also think that the plaques would make the benches seem more like formal, and so they wouldn't be stolen, as like people would think twice before stealing them.
I think we'll be okay. Valley Creek, we've had them there for about 2 years and not an issue.
And I shouldn't tell the public, but that GPS device that was going to be put in the wood from Chris Yeager, we probably shouldn't tell people about that, right? So we can follow it.
Attach a few to the bench.
Okay.
As a practicing arborist, I think the project sounds wonderful. If you ever need any extra advice or help planting, don't hesitate to reach out to your supervisor, Mr. Fixler.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. We're okay. Okay, make motion to approve this project, and good work. Highest regard for Troop 78. I know it well. I have a few of those patches, not nearly as many as you do, but we're good with it.
I'll second that.
And I third that, so it passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next up is Anish Nar. Working on a project near and dear to his home. Okay.
So my name is Anish Nar, and I'm doing a Valley Creek Park Trail project. Next slide. So a little bit about me is I'm a Great Valley High School senior. I'm 16 years old, and I'm from Troop 78 and a Life Scout. So a little bit of summary about the project. So we'll be clearing out invasive species and overgrown plants or roots to improve the trails around Valley Creek Park. We're clearing about an area of 3 feet by 8 feet so people can safely move around the trail. And we're also going to paint patches so people know where to go, because there's some places where it's a little confusing. And finally, we'll add a sign to let people know where the trail is. So the benefits of this project is that it's mainly for the visitors for the park, and right now it's like really filled up after COVID because really no one really went through it, and so we'll just be clearing out everything so people can go on them again if there's like hour nearby. And we're going to reduce the risk of accidents and make it a safer area, and then add like, there's no like actual trail, so we'll add markings and a sign to ensure visitors visit it. So why I chose this eco project is, first of all, the environmental impact, improving the trails around Valley Creek Park, community benefits, so more people can use it easily, and I have a personal connection as well because we used to go around there all the time since it's really close by. So for volunteers, it's mostly going to be from Troop 78, parents, friends, and also neighbors as well, and maybe up to about 10 volunteers. And this project will probably mostly be done in November, but the latest will probably be up until December, before the end of the year. And it's expecting about 100 to 150 hours. So this is a trail map approximation. As you can see, it like loops around right there, if you're familiar with the area, the tennis courts. If you know the bathroom, it starts right at the bathroom in Valley Creek Park, and slowly goes around, goes near a creek, and then right back to the bathroom. So for day one, we're going to assemble the team, safety, provide the tools and equipment for everyone. And first, we're going to survey the area for places which mainly need the most clearing. And we're going to divide our group into like maybe groups of 2 or 3. And they'll mostly do that to make the clearing more efficient. And we're going to clear a list of trees and locations suitable for trail markings as well. And then we'll continue from there. So on day 2, we'll again do the equipment. Then we'll focus again on clearing the trails and debris and all of the invasive species as well that's around. And we can also start adding the blazes or the markings which ensure that people know where they're going and also ensure that they're visible as well. Day 3, we can, if it's really needed for day 3, we'll mostly also just remove overgrown areas and keep adding symbols. And then we'll also start to make the sign as well in order to make people know that the trail is here near the bathrooms. And we're not expecting a day 4, but if it's really needed, we can just wrap everything up quickly and conclude the project. So this is the materials we basically needed. Safety, gloves, sneakers, boots, first aid kit. We're also providing lunch as well, clippers, loppers, hand saws, wheelbarrows, a battery operated weed whacker, shovels, and for the sign, we mostly need lumber, nails, and paint. So we don't have much cost since we already mostly have all the equipment, so it's mostly just the map and also the sign as well, and also for the paint in order to make the markings so people know where to go. Also, there's some safety as well, terrain hazards, wildlife encounters, dehydration, tool safety, will be handling all those, proper equipment, and if you encounter wildlife, stay away from it. We'll ensure like food and water as well, and we'll make sure everyone wears gloves so no one goes into any accidents. Next, oh yeah. So this is just examples of invasive species that we might be encountering. Poison ivy is not an invasive species, but we'll still remove it because it's annoying. And autumn olive, Japanese stilt grass, the usual. It's like a lot of it around, especially the Japanese knotwood and Japanese stilt grass. And we'll just quickly remove those. And yeah, any questions? And I'll ask for an approval for my project.
Peter, will you take all the poison ivy out for these guys? Being an arborist that you are.
I can identify poison ivy readily. I would recommend purchasing an ivy block before you go into those projects for anybody on the project. It works very well, as I've encountered more than my fair share of poison ivy.
It's a good idea.
My question would be, do you plan on going after any honeysuckle, invasive honeysuckle, Japanese honeysuckle in the woods? That would.
Yeah, probably.
I guess the follow-up question to that is, what are you going to do with all the debris?
Oh yeah, trash bags are in the material list, so we're planning to put them in trash bags and taking them out. And I think Mr. Neal said he was going to take them out later, so it doesn't regrow again.
Yeah, they'll get it to a point where we'll pick everything up and dispose of it properly. So,
Maybe put that chipper to use.
yep, good.
Do we need any part-time help in your department?
Absolutely.
Might be two candidates.
We might have a whole troop that can come out and help, so.
I just want to say I love both these projects. I think I missed the boat. It's a little late for me to join the Scouts, but I think both of these projects are fantastic, and you're speaking my language with both of them. I think it's great.
Good project. Thank you for your effort.
Approved. Good to go.
I
Sure,
second
make a
that.
motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Super.
Thank
Good
you.
to go.
Go ahead.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Nick. Okay, Catherine, Township seal,
You wanna- yeah.
and/or Zach.
So what you see up on the screen, and we can just scroll through them, there's 3 different options, and I'll just draw your attention to the seals.
Catherine, can I,
themselves.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt? Once I give a little background here.
Okay,
The signage in the township has gotten to be a bit dated, color scheme and signs falling apart. So what we've tried to do is we've identified a couple locations where we'd like to have a attractive signage. And one of those is here on Sweetsford Road off of, at the base of Backton Hill Park. We also would like to improve signage look at Valley Creek Park. And we will probably look at trying to do something here in the township building out on 401 as well. In addition, the long-term goal would be to make much smaller but somewhat attractive signs for major points along the road system coming into the township. So we can identify where the township begins and something attractive. Kind of following off the idea of what we did with trying to make beautification on 29 and 30, to try to make improvements along those lines. So that gives you a little bit of a background at this point in time. Sorry for cutting you off.
No. So that brings us to where we are now, which is one of the tasks at hand first is to establish a color scheme, because as the chairman already mentioned, there are several different colors if you visit parks or even in the township building, where there's various colors of green or blue or other tones. And so the purpose of this initiative really is to set up for the future of the township and establish color schemes and a new seal. So that's what you have before you. Is ultimately, there's really 2 issues at hand here for the board to consider. There's the concept of color scheme and seal, and then really signage would be the secondary issue that will come out of that, which likely will have to go to bid based on the prices. So to just draw the board's and the public's attention to these options, this is just a first blush at some options that the designer came back with that we'd like your reactions to, and if there are some comments or changes that you'd like requested, that would be helpful feedback for staff going forward. So this first one that you see here is really a play on what's reflected in the police seal. It includes 4 different items. There's the cannon, the lime kiln, the mill, and also agriculture. And it references, the township date of incorporation and our tagline, the heart of the Great Valley. And you can see the color scheme is this navy, dark blue with the yellow tones. We'll just, do you want to give comments as we go through, or would you like me to run through all of them and then revisit them? Okay, yep, if we can go to the next one then. So this one is a more modern look. Again, it plays with the same concept in the middle, but removes the separation, so it appears to be all one image in the center. It's definitely a more modern look, but again, similar content, just arranged differently. And finally, the major difference between this one and the first one is that ribbon across the center that you see here, and also the blue is darker. There's the lime green writing, but it does have the same images as well here. So we welcome the board's reactions, comments, questions on these as we move this forward. And we can go back to the first one if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Do you have any reactions to this one?
I like it a lot.
Are there any elements in particular that you like about it?
The section, the quartered off historical landmarks.
I like 1 or 3, but I might change the font of the Heart of Great Valley. I'm not sure people are used to reading cursive anymore.
Unfortunately, that is true.
Certainly not used to writing it. So it might be, I know. It might be, because the cars are going to be going by, Of course, within the speed limit, but even within the speed limit, might be hard to read. That's my only comment. 1 or 3 is fine for me.
I like the color scheme of number 1. Yeah, and I would agree with Rich's comment on the cursive.
I can tell you, we spent an awful lot of time trying to come up with different ideas and what to put in there, and it was sort of difficult. Are we still researching maybe a couple other options to come up with?
Yes.
So I think we're going to reach out to 1 or maybe 2 other sources. Mm-hmm. So I would say take that back and make adjustments or thoughts on it, and we can take it from there. Mm-hmm. We looked at so many books and so many pieces of literature trying to come up again with ideas, so it's difficult. I will also add that when I brought the concept of the drawing of the signage to John Neild, I was pleasantly surprised that he had individuals who work for the township that were able to build that. So that's our staff that have built these, which is pretty talented group of guys. So I think that's great.
Unless you have any other feedback, I think that's really everything for this go around. Like I said, this is a multi-step process. So there'll be a lot more opportunities for discussion and feedback along the way. So we appreciate it.
Just a quick question. Not that they need to have input, but did the Historical Commission have any input on this?
Not yet, but they will have an opportunity to.
Because I'm sure they'd.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I don't think they'd have any problem with but maybe they might have something valuable to add.
Yeah, it's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Catherine, do you have a question? Public input. Kathleen.
I do like the first one a lot, and I agree with the script, maybe just italics or something more modern. But the agriculture bothers me because that's not who we are at this moment. I love the mill because that's present here. And I'm not sure I like the cannon. I don't know. We need a little more peace in this world. And I'm not sure I like that. But I was just wondering too, though, a stream. I mean, our rivers that we have, the creeks that we have, maybe the trees that we have, something a little bit that we have now. I know that's just a thought.
Yeah, one of the things that we try to do is we try to put in our past successes and what the community was, and then where it is now. So it's a challenge, but we'll keep working on it. We'll forget the now. But
Good suggestions.
Yeah, very good.
Very good.
Yep. Anybody on Zoom, Donna?
Martin, go ahead.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
In regard to the sign, I believe the agriculture is a very significant key part of our history. It should be. And the reason being is I was surprised recently with one of the land development applications, they showed aerial views going back. And I was always surprised back in 1955 that virtually the whole township was agriculture. I was totally surprised by that versus what it is now. So I believe the pieces that you have on there, I'm not sure about the gun, the cannon, but I believe the agriculture and local mill are two significant parts of our history.
Okay. Good input. Keep working on it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Zach, do you have a...
Scott, I wanted to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If we're done with the seal and signage update, there is one briefing item that did not make the agenda, and Zach reminded me of it, which is we have two upcoming Board of Supervisors meetings to consider the 2024 budget. The first one is this coming Monday, October 16th. The meeting will be held here at 1:30 in the afternoon. It's an in-person only meeting. There will be no hybrid or Zoom option. So if you want to attend, it's 1:30 on Monday the 16th, and we will be discussing the general fund. The second budget meeting is the following Monday, October 23rd, also in this room at 1:30, also in person only, and we will be discussing our capital projects, capital fund, and other non-general fund items.
Now it's my turn to ad lib. Just one other thing that didn't quite make it. I just wanted to give folks an update. As you may be aware, the billboard along 202 has a new ownership, and they submitted a application called the M700 to PennDOT to go into and around Ecology Park into the right-of-way owned by PennDOT to further trim trees, cut trees, which was a situation that came up 2 years ago under the original owner of the sign, in which we petitioned to PennDOT not to have that done. And at that time, a tremendous amount of input from the residents submitted comments to PennDOT objecting to the removal of the trees at that point in time. Some local residents put together a Facebook page and posts, and they asked the residents to CC me so I'd have an idea of how many people that responded this particular time. And so I've got about 32 residents that have commented to PennDOT pertaining to that M700 application. And I would say that we probably have a couple more days if you wanted to voice your concern or comments to PennDOT. On October 14th, they're supposed to be making a final decision. Bernadette?
Yeah, I think PennDOT is going to send out that decision. I think the 14th is actually a Saturday. I think we're going to know on Friday, the 13th.
So I just wanted to give residents a heads up. Got a motion to award a diesel contract?
3B.
3B.
We're on 3B. They approved the park, gentlemen.
Why are we following the numbers now? We haven't all night.
We haven't all week.
Okay, so all right. I guess Catherine, if you want to give just a brief overview at all regarding our Park and Rec Board appointment.
Yes. So as the board's aware, there was a recent resignation from the Park and Rec Board that resulted in a vacancy. And there were two very qualified candidates who submitted their applications and were interviewed. And at this point in time, the recommendation from the Park and Rec Board is to, for the board to appoint Brett Turk for the remainder of that unexpired term.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Any comments, concerns? Okay, Peter.
I'll make a motion to approve Brett Turk for the term of 2 years, to end in 12/31/2025, to the Park and Recreation Board.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And passes. All right, John, you're up now
Okay.
on some diesel fuel.
Right. On September 29th, we had the bid opening for our heating oil and diesel fuel, and the prices are listed there. Rhodes Energy was the low bidder. 3.501 per gallon for heating oil. Diesel fuel is 3.585. We're within 2 cents of last year's price, so we were pretty happy with that. So we're asking to award that.
Rich, you want to make a motion?
Sure. Sounds good. Make a motion to approve 2023-24 diesel and oil fuel bid to Rhodes Energy Inc. heating oil, $3.50.1 per gallon. And diesel at $3.58.5 per gallon.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And passes. Moving on to motion to advertise. Greg?
Yeah, I'm just looking for approval to sell, advertise on municipal bid 3 Sierra wireless modems and 3 Windows tablets.
That? Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the sale of 3 Sierra wireless modems and 3 Windows motion tablets.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'd like to go on record again for the second time, just kind of announce that Greg Lewis this week was able to achieve the Chief Fire Officer designation through the Center for Public Safety Excellence, which is a big accomplishment, and we're real proud of you, and thanks for everything. It's a good job. Donna, you want to do this? You want to tell us? Aren't you on here? All right. Who's Catherine? I guess everything's defaulting to you tonight. 6B, please.
This is a ordinance amendment to include background checks as being a required item for all volunteer members going forward of all boards and commissions in the township. So it's required to amend the ordinance associated with that to put that in place. So there'll be a public hearing at next month's meeting.
Okay.
What level of background check is part of this? Because you can get a background check from the simplest of $22 to get Pennsylvania criminal background check online on your own to thousands and thousands of dollars.
This is just a standard background check. It's not anything that extensive.
Okay, all right.
And Chris Yeager's department will be kind of handling that, correct?
No, actually, that's where I guess I come in. Actually, Divot does it for us.
Oh, Divot?
Divot does
Divot's
it for us. It's covered.
Divot is basically our insurance carrier.
Yeah, they do it for us.
Huh. Good. Okay.
Deb Mobile, 42 Village Way. I'm wondering what you're looking for in a background check.
It just gives insight into criminal history.
Like what criminal history? Like if I got busted smoking weed when I was in college, and you're not going to let me volunteer for the township? I mean, it's not in a capacity where you're working with children. I understand that. I mean, I believe in second chances, and who is going to make the determination of who gets second chances? I mean, there's a lot to history, and there isn't a standard background check. I was a public school teacher. There were 3 different sections to the new background check for teachers, and I had to go through it again because I volunteered. And yes, and that can start to get expensive. But not only that, it's a judgment call. We have people in this room with criminal records. I guarantee it. And if you're going to put certain criteria on it, what are you looking for? That they couldn't volunteer to sit on a committee and give some insight. There were people you gave money to tonight. I'll tell you right now, some of them have criminal records. And that may be why they got into the business that they did. And maybe not, maybe I could be wrong, maybe not, maybe none of them do. But, you know, if you're going to do it, there has to be a reason why. And there also has to be something in place, some kind of a committee or some kind of a judgment thing where people can say, you know, my record's been clean for 15 years. You know, I understand, but I still want to serve on the Parks and Rec Committee. And I don't think there's any reason why you can't. Again, it's different if you're putting them in a capacity of supervising children. Certainly it may be different if you're putting them in a capacity where they're keeping financial records, you know. But I just think we're getting into a slippery slope, and background checks are not the answer to that slippery slope.
You want me to? If I could just respond briefly, Deb, you're right, and it's just one factor. The Board of Supervisors makes the appointments, and that's certainly not the only factor that the board will look at. They'll look at, their qualifications, their interest, and I don't know that there is any way to quantify it. It's hard for me, it's a good question. But I think, as you mentioned, there are certain instances where you may want to disqualify an individual, and I think it's difficult for us to say this evening. And so, again, yes, it's a judgment call. It's only one factor. And for what it's worth, all the employees, when we're hired here, we go through background checks. And I think it's important that the township knows who's representing the township. So I think that's the intent, but it's a point well taken, and,
I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm saying we need to be clearer. It's not a solve everything.
Yeah, that's why I asked what I asked about the level of a background check.
Yeah, exactly.
What if Divot, our insurance company, is doing this for us? Did the idea or request come from them as part of our liability coverage?
Came from us. I mean, we asked them to do that.
yeah, Rich, as far as I know, it was an internal discussion
Yeah.
amongst staff involving the police department, and I'm not sure, Don, I guess you reached out to Divot, or someone reached out to Divot and asked. But Deb makes good points. I mean, we can certainly, if you want, this can be tabled or reconsidered, and we can try to add some clarity to it and define it better.
I think having also a discussion in detail with Chris Yeager in terms of the level of information that's being looked into, and maybe we can get some police feedback as far as how to use that criteria and how to evaluate it, and maybe define it a little bit more stringent than leaving it open. But I think that would be a good start, would be with the police.
Yeah, and at a minimum, we should define the scope from day one. Is it just what's called the e-patch check from the Pennsylvania State Police, or is it fingerprinting? Those are the two levels that are available to pretty much anybody. So anything, if we do go for it, it should be defined.
Okay. I think we've got two comments. If you could come up and give us your name and then speak into the mic, that'd be great.
Board, my name is Mackenzie Walsh Pearson, and I was just wondering if perhaps that the community could voice at a later date a vote as to exactly where the line in the sand would be drawn in such a matter, and as to what matters on a background check would be definitive for, refusal of employment or any position regarding matters with the township.
I'm not sure that a vote is appropriate, but I think your input's important. I think if we can define it a little bit and get it out to you, and then have more input would be the way that I'd like to see it go.
And employment is different. I mean, we wouldn't go to the public to ask their guidance on background, the level of background check to hire somebody who's going to be here full time. That's an entirely different issue. But volunteer, that's legitimate to discuss.
Don't we as community members have a say in our government, even if it's as local as township? Whether they're employed, whether they're elected, or whether they're volunteers?
Again, once we can maybe define this a little bit better, then your input, yes, your input would come, I think, at that point in time would be more useful.
Yeah,
As we understand the whole process and what's being looked at in its entirety.
Yeah, the answer is yes. The public, I mean, that's why we hold these meetings. That's why you're commenting and we're listening and reacting to it this evening. When we put together a draft, if anyone here or anyone listening wants to reach out to me and ask for a copy of it, we'd happily provide you with a copy of it and you could take a look. And certainly assuming it gets to a hearing, that again is a public meeting where people are more than welcome to comment. So the public will have opportunity to comment and participate.
Thank you for your comments.
And coming to these meetings is a great way to participate, so keep coming. One of my thoughts is when you talked about your insurer, to make sure that they're not making decisions as they come across, that they're not, and making sure that, and is there any implications, on their end about insuring you? So it's just a question. So they're not vetting anybody. They're just providing the background check and paying for the background check.
Correct.
So I guess at this point in time, what we're hearing is we'll pen this until we get some more information that we can present out to the public. And maybe what we can do is, because not everyone can attend the meeting every single time, is maybe put that out on the webpage. Does that make sense? That kind of defines it a little more, so you can take a look at it from your home and look at it. Okay. So, you want to make a motion to pend it?
Yeah, if we need to, yeah, make a motion to just, well. Yeah.
Okay. We will table approval regarding ordinance 333-2021 and number 334-2021 to include all volunteer members regarding background checks.
We'll table the advertising of it. We're not even going to advertise it. Right. Okay. All right. That's fine. Second?
Third?
Yes. Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. Yeah, we're good on it. Moving on to 6C and a super backhoe for John Neal.
We're asking for approval to advertise the sale of a 1997 case backhoe on municipal bid.
Do we have a replacement already, or?
Yes, it was in last year's budget. It just came in a week ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, it must be shiny.
Yes, for now.
Motion to
Might as well make
advertise?
a motion. Yeah, I'll make a motion to advertise the sale of the 1997 Case 580 Super L backhoe on municipal bid.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And passes.
Okay. The next item is we're asking for approval to advertise for the Route 401 traffic signal grant project, which is upgrades to the signals from Phoenixville Pike to Mill Lane. So that's everything Moores Road, 202, the Township driveway, Mill Lane, to basically, it's all new controllers, a whole new system to get everything to flow better through there.
Sooner the better.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And that's for grant money?
That's all grant, yes.
Okay, well, that's easy. I'll make a motion to approve advertising for the Route 401 traffic signal grant project.
A second.
All those in favor?
All
All
in
those
favor?
in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and the next item is approval to advertise for Route 29 Green Light Go grant. This is to install performance measuring equipment on 5 intersections on Route 29. It'll be from Route 30 down to Liberty Boulevard to do what we can to gather information to time the signals better. Anybody who drives out there knows afternoon rush hour is a disaster out there. So this will give us real-time information so that we can program the controllers to work their best at the right time of day.
Is that information just collected by you? Is that with McMahon? Or,
McMahon's involved in this
Okay.
with the grant, and it's used by whoever we designate as our traffic engineer. It just happens to be McMahon right now,
Currently, okay.
but it is our equipment, so.
Peter?
Sure, this sounds, another one that sounds great to go after. Oh, we have a question?
What does it take for us to get a right-hand turn lane from Old Lincoln to Old Lancaster into the neighborhood? Is that at all something that we can, say it again, Pete?
I finally arrived there in my head where it was.
Yeah, off of Route 30.
Of course.
South on Old Lincoln.
Going up the hill.
West on Old Lancaster. Because that all gets backed up and none of our neighborhood can make a right-hand turn at that, while you're talking about traffic. Rich, you look confused.
There's not a no right turn on red there, is there?
There's no right turn lane.
Oh, that's the difference.
It's a,
Okay.
yeah, it's a lane. It's a
okay.
project. It is probably CubeSmart who owns that sidewalk. There's a sidewalk there, but no one could get to that sidewalk from anywhere because there's no other sidewalks in the area. But there's no right-hand turn lane to go onto Old Lancaster.
Into the village.
Into the village and up through Malvern through Warren. I mean, people are,
And that backs up?
that
light
backs
is
up
that
a
long?
lot.
On to 30, Rich?
Yes. Under the underpass.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
It's something we can,
I still think you need to get your money back from whoever did that traffic study there. Just saying.
what are you doing next week?
What do you want me to do, Scott?
5% finder's fee, whatever you recover. Why don't we, if you could send a little bit of an email with where you're talking to maybe Catherine or Zach. Anyway, just
Catherine and
outlining
Zach.
it. What we'll try to do is bring it, we have a monthly traffic meeting. Okay, all the engineers and McMahon come together and they talk about traffic issues. So we can bring it up at that point in time and get input from the traffic engineers.
Because there's a left-hand turn lane going into across East Whiteland, which I don't know how many people make that left. But yeah, they could do the study, I can't. But there's also a stop sign at Old Lancaster and Warren, near the old blacksmith house, that needs to be trimmed back because people are going through the stop sign. It's been overgrown. Across from John Warren Inn.
John already took a note on that one. Okay, thank you. We. Oh, well, you want to try that again, Peter?
Let's get back to 29, and I'll make a motion to approve to advertise for Route 29 Greenlight Go grant project.
Second. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It passes.
So there is a dedicated left turn lane to go into Weybridge and to that office building. Is that needed? I wouldn't think so. So there's room. Okay, all right. Well, you are officially a traffic engineer now. You are officially a traffic engineer now.
Moving on, under planning and development, number 7. Mr. Barner? You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item here, really there's just 2 items that are somewhat related. In fact, they're directly related. The first is a master plan for the redevelopment of a portion of the Great Valley Corporate Center, sort of on the west side of Route 29 and south of Great Valley Parkway. This is part of a lot of past planning. There's some previously approved plans in this area. The township went through an effort a number of years ago to revise the overlay ordinance that regulates this portion of the township, reduced height, modified mix of uses, things like that. And what's before you tonight is consideration to have staff and the solicitor draft a resolution. I'm sure the applicant would prefer it to be an approval resolution for the master plan, which basically designates the phasing associated with the 2 components of the project, the traffic improvements and things of that nature. The applicant and their consultant team is here to provide a brief overview if you like. I gave a bit of an update last month, so I guess with that, if the board has any questions of the applicant, staff, etc., we can field or present in any way you like.
The only question I have, what's the sequence of the timing of the traffic improvements that are earmarked for this phase or the overall project? Speaking of traffic.
Good afternoon, board members. Lou Caligreco here for the applicant. Rich, to answer your question, and Zach did a good job, setting this up. There are 2 phases to this development. One is the residential phase, and one is the R&D building phase. Phase 1, phase 2, for purposes of simplicity. You can see them on the board over there. There's a regime of traffic improvements associated with phase 1 that Eric can walk through. Eric Ostomchuk, our traffic consultant, that he's gone over with Chris Williams. There has been a request from the township to do, and PennDOT, quite frankly, to do a little bit more in phase 1 than was originally divided up or proposed. Phase 1 is going to go first. Let me start there. If things go according to plan, that construction will probably be next year, sometime next year, and these traffic improvements would be commensurate with phase 1. So, Eric, to answer Rich's question, can you just give a bullet point of what those traffic improvements will be that come with the residential portion, and then what will come with the R&D building and there's no groundbreaking date for phase 2. That's still speculative at this point, but this is the latest, greatest iteration lead for phase 2, this 300,000 square foot R&D building.
Everything but that handy.
Good evening. Eric Ostomchuk with Traffic Planning and Design. As Lou and Zach indicated, we've been evaluating this corridor for quite some time, especially with the site. 2 phases of development, south side or plan west, as you see up on the screen here. First, looking for that aerial, Zach?
I am, yeah. I actually have every piece of paper you've sent me in the last 6 years except for that.
That's quite all right. So I can speak off this for phase 1. So phase 1 is on the left side of the screen there. As part of phase one, what's been called the lap road extension will be completed first. That's going to create a relief valve, so to speak, on Old Moore Hall Road, connecting back to Technology Drive. Will come into Route 29 opposite the Township Park on the east side of 29. Part of that, we will be installing left turn lanes to the lap road extension, but more significantly is the implementation of a traffic signal at that location. It's going to serve a number. Sure. Way to do that. 29 here is Great Valley Parkway. This area here. Back there is Old Moore Hall Road, Technology Drive, and that connects over to Great Valley Parkway. Right here is the Township Park. Valley Creek. Yeah, Valley Creek Park.
And Eric, while you're standing there, could you just
try this one? Yeah.
can you just explain what is phase one and phase two for some members of the audience may not realize?
So the entirety of the project goes from Great Valley Parkway towards Technology Drive, 29 on the east side, and Old Moore Hall Road here. Phase one will consist of the southern portion in here, which is residential, 400 unit multi-family residential, consisting of age restricted as well as market rate apartments. And then the second phase will be 300,000 square feet or so of RV. Again, that's the second phase. This one has a land development application, which is the second bullet point that indicated for the extension tonight. So in all previous iterations over the past decade or so, the northern portion was always anticipated to go first, but now with the new development and master plan, what's that? Just can't seem to win. All right. So the implementation of the traffic signal will allow not only vehicles to get out from the corporate center, but also allow for pedestrians to cross 29 safely over to the park and back and forth. Additionally, the implementation of this traffic signal kind of connects kind of what I'd call a no man's land on 29. You have Great Valley Parkway to the north, which has a traffic signal, Valley Stream Parkway to the south. They're about 2,600 feet apart or so, and this is almost equidistant. So that kind of ties those two portions of Route 29 together. So those are the first set of improvements for phase one. What we'll also be looking at is some changes to Great Valley Parkway as part of phase one. There's some antiquated signal phasing there that's kind of in place because of the median that exists on Great Valley Parkway. So as part of phase one, we'll be looking at changes to that intersection as well. I don't know if you were able to find that other aerial. All right. So this is the overall aerial of the improvements for both phases 1 and 2. As you can see, there's the phase 1 improvements in orange that I described previously. And then as part of phase 2, Route 29 will be, there'll be 3 lanes provided in each direction, essentially from south of Great Valley Parkway up through Flat Road, South Atwater Drive as you're approaching the turnpike. And again, this is shown in blue, but we're going to be looking at some changes on Great Valley Parkway, which would be in orange then.
A lot of these changes especially the Lap Road extension, were changes actually promulgated by the township. It's been on the township's master traffic plan for years to extend that extension, just as being proposed here, to provide access across to the park. So this accomplishes that. Many of the other changes that Eric has spoken to are also, again, taken from the township's master traffic plan for improvement of this section of Route 29. The original approved master plan for this property back in 2016 or 17 called for about 1.8 million square feet of development, a hotel, a number of apartments, retail, shopping, 6-story parking garage. Over the ensuing years, in consultation with East Whiteland, this plan is about 800,000 square feet. So there's about 1 million square feet of lesser density on the property. It seems to fit better. In this economy, you can probably build this plan. I'm not quite sure you could have built the $1.8 million plan or building square footage plan these days. But the site has gotten, the development on the site, the regime has gotten smaller and smaller as we've gone forward. You might recall that the original approved master plan had building heights of 115 feet. The maximum building height is 75 feet. That was an ordinance amendment that the township enacted a couple of years ago. No hotel. What retail there will be is probably, as we've noted on the master plan, going to be part of that parking structure with the guidance, with the R&D building. It would be a phase 2 development. And the only reason we're including the retail in there is because the ordinance design standards does require a mixed use for that garage building. So you see it broken up into small 3,000 or 2,000 square foot retail pods. That may change. You know, you may get one retailer that wants 6,000 square feet, but for now, that it's not ambitious. Well, take that back. It may be very ambitious retail these days, but it's not from a square footage perspective. It's relatively small. But as I said, just to put everything in proper context, this is just a master plan as how the site could develop going forward. The phase 1 is you already have engineered plans which you're reviewing. The phase 1 development is a lock from moving forward, we hope. The phase 2 development will stop after this master plan approval until there's an actual signed agreement and the building tenant can be identified and those details can be nailed down.
Is
the split between age-restricted and market rate units?
There are a total of 400, age-restricted over 55 is 130, if my math is correct. And what does that leave? 270 for market rate?
Okay. Is there any way we could flip that number?
Pardon?
Is there any way we could flip that number?
No, I've said this openly and publicly. I'm sort of surprised that the client has voluntarily agreed to do age-restricted housing. As you know, there's no requirement in the ordinance for it, but there seems to be a niche, or they're developing a niche for these. I guess the folks who move into these apartments want to make sure that only people over 55 with no children are going to move into them. So to answer your question, Peter, who knows? I mean, the fact that they've affirmatively agreed to do that when they didn't have to was a surprise to me. So maybe it does go up, I don't know, but right now it's 130.
I'm certainly happy to see it. I think there is a need for it in the township, and I'm glad they're attempting to fill that need.
Yeah, and look, the apartment developer is Greystar. I mean, they're the largest apartment developer in the country, so they draw on databases from all over, and this is something that they see, that they think that they can do real well with here in East Whiteland. There's, as you know, there's no age-restricted over 55 product, I don't think, anywhere in the township.
At the other end of Atwater, just intra-different.
That's right.
But it's kind of in East Whiteland.
Sort of.
I was at a planning commission meeting in August where this was discussed, and the issue of a pedestrian walkway going across a 6-lane highway on a place where the crest of the hill comes over like this, they were outraged. And it was my understanding that it was going to go back and they were going to look at other things. And I'm wondering, I don't notice any improvement or any, did you move the light? I mean, it's a very dangerous spot on that hill. People go really fast coming down that hill. And no, they shouldn't, but they do. And I don't want my grandchild to be crossing that street on a bicycle on 6 lanes, trying to get across there with people. I mean, the planning commission was really upset. And I don't want to say all, like, how many is on it? 7, 9, whatever? 7? Not but I know 3 or 4 of them were like livid, at least. And that's without exaggeration. And I'm wondering if you've made any changes or improvements since that August meeting.
No, there have been no changes since the August meeting. The fair representation of what was said at the August meeting is this is shown again, this pedestrian crossing is shown as part of the township's master plan, and PennDOT is requiring it as part of the PennDOT permit. If the township doesn't want a crossing there, a pedestrian crossing, that's fine with us. We're doing what the condition of the highway occupancy permit will require. PennDOT wants a pedestrian crossing at this location. And the feeling is, and I don't mean to speak for PennDOT, but I think the feeling is that people are going to cross anyway, so try and make it as safe as possible. So we are doing what the state regulatory agency requires us to do. And if the township weighs in with PennDOT and says we don't want a pedestrian crossing there, then that's fine. I mean, that's not something that we're promulgating. That's something we're being told is going to be part of your permit. And as the traffic consultant pointed out to the Planning Commission, this condition is not unique. Their pedestrian crossing down at Wegmans for the Chester Valley Trail. There's pedestrian crossings in Exton at Route 30 and Route 100 with much greater traffic concentration. Well, wait a minute. What are you arguing with me for? What are you arguing with me for?
Hey, can I? If
you should
let's not have a ruckus here. Just if you have a specific question, please come up and.
And it sounds like, well, wait.
We have a history too, because CubeSmart was built and they promised that there would be no, but this is our trust issue with people, is the sense that when CubeSmart was done, they promised there would be no storage units. The whole west side is storage units. But what you just brought up, this is completely different than Wegmans. So apples to apples, please.
So you mentioned that you're doing this because PennDOT wants it. You haven't taken into consideration, at least not admittedly, the fact that people here want something you're not even entertaining the notion of. This happens all the time at schools, train stations, and other high-traffic thoroughfares. Build a bridge or build a tunnel. Find a solution that satisfies not the government, but the people.
I understand your comment.
Yeah, it sounds like the township could and should be the one making this decision. So it's good that we know the thoughts, and if we are going to exercise influence with PennDOT, we will do that. We'll talk to our traffic engineer and ultimately make a decision.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing, just procedurally, this is the master plan, so this is kind of a high-level overview of the phasing, the traffic improvements, obviously that's a component of it. The more detailed design, all the things that will be required or not required or to be determined at a later date will be resolved during the land development phase. That's currently ongoing. Relative to just the Deb's comment about the Planning Commission meeting, this was discussed again at the last Planning Commission meeting. And I'll just say that the concerns were far less substantial. I'm not going to argue with your characterization of the outrage or anything like that, but there was certainly subdued at the, nothing's changed in the plan, but the sentiment coming out of the Planning Commission, I do believe has changed. We've discussed it with our police department, discussed it with our traffic engineer, Chris Williams, who is on the call tonight. There's been coordination meetings with PennDOT, and I think Lou's characterization of those meetings is accurate. The thinking, aside from the township's ability to connect trails, residences, corporate centers into our park safely, this will be a signalized intersection. Traffic will be slowed down coming north and south on routes 29. As Eric said, it's about equidistant from Great Valley Parkway and Valley Stream Parkway. I always get Valley Creek and Valley Stream mixed up. I apologize. So I do think just in terms of the flow of traffic, there will be sort of an obvious adjustment in the way that people drive along that road. The way these buildings are being constructed, the improvements along this road, which as Eric said is currently in sort of a no man's land. I think the character, the atmosphere, the psychological aspect of driving along this road will change. So I do think that what will ultimately be there is very different than what is there now. We talked about bridges. They're obviously expensive. That's only one factor to consider. We talked about tunnels. There are safety concerns with tunnels due to visibility and sort of potential nefarious activities that happen in underground and things like that. Okay, I don't know what you're referring to. If you have a comment, please just come to the, can you guys please just, like, if you have a comment, please come to the podium like everybody else.
Otherwise,
That's
it's
where
not
these
going to get
meetings work.
recorded.
Yeah, please come to
Just
the
so you know,
lectern.
it won't get recorded if you don't come up.
That's fine. Jonathan Galasso. I used to be a truck driver going down that section of Route 30. I've worked out of both Glasgow and DVC concrete plant. And what you're asking truck to tractor trailer drivers to do going down that hill will put pedestrians in great risk throughout the day. And I see a further problem because you're putting 55 and older in there, and those truck drivers rely greatly on their Jake brakes to slow down, and the next thing you're going to be getting is them requiring them no longer use their Jake brakes, and then you're going to have an increase of accidents in commercial vehicles on that hill because of that traffic light in that area, because there'll be all those trucks leaving both highway materials, Allen Myers, DVC, and Glasgow are fully loaded. I'm talking 50,000 pounds of material. Some of that is well over, we know asphalt is very hot. Concrete it's all dangerous. It's a recipe for disaster.
Jonathan, can I have your address?
100 Church Road.
Thank you.
Just to the point about the crossing itself, it will only occur at the signalized intersection. So if there's a red light, there'll be a pedestrian crossing phase for people to cross, just like there would be at a normal intersection. This is not going to be sort of a mid-block crossing. I just wanted to clarify in case that was not clear from the presentation.
Still, again, you're not taking into consideration commercial vehicles. They don't stop like Honda Civics. They just don't. It takes hundreds of feet for them to stop.
But they're going to stop at the signal anyway.
No,
correct?
but you're coming down that turn, you don't put
Okay.
yourself
I understand. I get what you're saying.
behind the wheel with 80,000 pounds, and you would approach this a lot differently.
Okay. So we'll discuss this with PennDOT. We'll discuss it with our police. We'll discuss it with everybody at the appropriate time. They're great comments. I don't want you to think that I'm being dismissive in any way of your comments. It's one of many factors that we're going to have to weigh going forward.
I totally respect talking to amongst yourselves, but when I hear him talk, he's an expert in truck driving. So I'm asking you to go outside yourselves and talk to someone who drives a truck, because I know things are in place. I know that we're supposed to go the speed limit. I know we're supposed to stay on the other side of a yellow line, double yellow. If you're drunk, you're not supposed to drive. And my husband was killed by a drunk driver. There are rules for a reason, and just because you put those things in place doesn't mean people go through that stop sign all the time down on Warren Avenue. Please, this is not about you putting things in place, but people will still drive drunk and kill people. Truck drivers know what they're doing going down the lane. Please talk to them and see if this is a feasible thing to do.
Kathleen, we're in no disagreement with the gentleman that just spoke, and we hear what he's saying.
Peter,
Absolutely.
what I'm asking you to do, and it's the same with what's happening with Bishop Tube, there are experts and people who have done work, people who know what they're talking about. I'm asking you respectfully to talk to them outside amongst yourselves. That's all I'm asking. I get it. I understand. I know.
I'd like to speak to Lou and the developer about the other area of concern that was brought up in the Planning Commission was the three-bedroom apartments and their potential impact on the school district. Do you have any
No, but
response kind of to that?
What we will have, and I can get it to you in the email or mail over the next week or so, is there was one Planning Commission member, the vote to recommend approval of the master plan was 6-1. There was one Planning Commission member who thought that 13 three-bedroom units would pose a burden on the schools, and we wanted the opportunity to provide documentary evidence as to what your currency of what that would produce to the schools. And like I said, whether that's tomorrow or the next day or Monday, I will shoot that information off to the township.
Would love to see that.
But I did want to clarify the one statement about the Planning Commission. It is correct, in August there was concern, and when the township's traffic consultant and our traffic consultant explained in September that that crossing was going to be signalized, two of the Planning Commission members did not know that, and they said, oh, well, then that's fine. They were okay with that. So the description of their August concerns was correct. The further of when they actually voted and the comments that were given at that time, they had not realized that that was being proposed as a signalized crossing to the park. And we don't have to get into it now, but we can. We've spent 60 days exploring this tunnel concept, which I can let Eric or our planner speak to that, but just the grade differential. I think I heard you're going down 18 feet to get to a point, about 18 feet, even enter a tunnel. The police, I had heard, expressed no support for that proposal, and PennDOT expressed no support for that proposal. It's their right of way. And the logistics of doing that, it's more than just putting a tunnel under a road, it's getting to it safely with ADA requirements and everything else. It would be quite an undertaking that no permitting agency seems to have any appetite to consider.
Without hearing from any agency, common sense, I would be opposed to a tunnel under 29, especially 18 feet deep.
It's a challenge.
No interest whatsoever.
So it has not been ignored. I didn't want the board to think that we didn't take a look at that option. We did. We did take a look at that option, and it's just.
What about an opposite? The bridge over it.
For the same reason that Chester County wouldn't put one where the Chester County Trail is, the cost you're probably looking at $20 to $30 million.
That's because I don't know if it
Can you hold on one
matters.
sec? Let Lou finish, and then,
Yeah.
then we'll.
Estimates, I didn't estimate it, I'm not an estimator, but what I've heard is it would probably cost at least $20 to $30 million.
Part of that reason, I don't know if it would be the same as what I heard, was that it would have to be free span. They could not put a post in the middle.
That's correct.
To help, and that was supposedly a huge difference in cost. And I don't know if that applies here. That's one of the
It got to
questions.
the point where, I mean, let's be candid, this project won't pay for it. I have no hesitancy in saying that. There's no money anywhere. The state doesn't have it, the township doesn't have it, certainly a private developer doesn't have it. So we can study it, but that, just from a legit, financial perspective, it's beyond the scope of any entity.
The only other crossing right now across 29 is at Wegmans, right? There's no crossing at Swedesford and 29, not a formal crossing. There's no crossing at Great Valley Parkway,
Great Valley has a cross.
a formal
29.
crossing with
Yes.
the pedestrian lights, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tells you how little I go there. But
Yeah, there's one at Great Valley Parkway. I believe you're right there. I don't believe there's any at South Atwater, North Atwater.
Atwater into Flat, there's no formal crossing.
Correct. But as you go
right?
south towards 30, there are crossings through that.
Several Wegmans.
I'm trying to think if
We'll have to ride it, yeah. Sorry.
29 and 30. I don't know that there's one at Sweet.
I don't think so. It's
Yeah.
wide enough to fit, well, on going down 29, a bike lane, but
Yeah, the main concern in discussions with PennDOT and with Chris Williams is you have a pedestrian generator that exists on the east side in the park, introducing residential and a trail system. People are going to cross. So let's get them across with marked crosswalks, appropriate timing of the light so that they can do so.
Yeah, just the only thing I'll add to that, the Chester Valley Trail crossing at 29 at Wegmans, that's a very different animal. That's thousands of people a day probably. That I don't know the numbers, but off the top of my head, but I wouldn't anticipate this crossing being anywhere near that level of volume. Would you like to come up?
If you want to come up to the podium.
About he's emitting right there, the grade differential. The reason why you have to dig the bridge so deep is because of the grade of the highway being so steep. So again, good luck with the timing of that traffic light, because you're admitting the problem with trying to put a tunnel underneath it is that the the hill above it is too steep. That's a indicator right there. I don't know what the grade is, but I can tell you that, I've driven down it plenty of times. It takes a lot to stop a truck going down that hill, especially past that park.
I don't think we need to debate this a whole lot further. Just to one slight point, the grade differential he's referring to is on the sides of the road, not relative to the actual. I'm talking about what he's talking about, not what you're talking about.
You're saying you have to go down 18 feet, correct?
You're already down 18 feet on the other sides of the road. So to get
Right.
from one side to the other, you have to go under 29.
Right.
there's not going to
You
be a
have
tunnel. There's not going to be a tunnel.
Right.
Right, I'm not suggesting a tunnel.
There's not going to be a tunnel.
No, I'm not suggesting a tunnel. I was pointing out the fact that the tunnel has to go so deep because of the grade of the hill.
Mr. Orlo, why do you get to definitively and ultimately get to tell us there's not going to be a tunnel? Again, if the Church Farm School, not even 2 miles outside of township property, has somehow mastered this for children, school-age children to use safely with lighting and proper structuring and absolutely no issues, and it's been there for years. With all the money that East Whiteland has, we can't somehow figure out how to do this for our citizens. But, wait a minute. Before you answer me, remind everybody in the room how you told everybody here you decided there's not going to be a tunnel and nobody else gets a say in it.
2 other people get a say on it.
Why don't we all get a say?
I'm one vote. Because we hear your opinions and then we vote, because that's the position. We don't.
What you're saying is that you hear our opinions and then you're going to vote. So no matter what our opinions are, you're going to vote the way you want it to vote.
No, you're
No,
misunderstanding.
I'm not misunderstanding. I'm saying just like he just said.
It's there's no definitive answers at this point in time. There's research looking at it. It's a 3-member board. That's Rich's opinion. And no, if it didn't count, you wouldn't be still talking to us at this point. Gentlemen, it's semantics here.
I propose
We're listening
a
to
future
you.
vote from the residents of East Whiteland Township as to whether or not we should consider a tunnel, a bridge, or no crosswalk whatsoever. This should be for the people of this township, not for 3 board members who many township members don't even know.
Yeah, that's not how municipal government works. The way municipal... Do you understand how municipal government works? That you vote for the elected officials. When they come up for election, absolutely. And that's how you do it. These meetings are public meetings, as we've discussed earlier and I mentioned earlier. The board listens to comments every single month. All of our boards and commissions do. And kind of like the discussion earlier about the background checks, your opinions and information that are provided here are factored into the board's decision-making. Mr. Orlo is just one supervisor. I don't know how Mr. Lambert or Mr. Fixler will vote, but the fact of the matter is that these 3 gentlemen will make the decision.
But Mr. Orlo just made the decision, did he not? On record, he just and repeated himself to emphasize his point. That decision's already been made, right?
No. They have to vote. I mean, he can sit there.
Wait a minute. He just said something twice on record, demanding that this is the way things are going to be, and you're going to tell me we still have to vote on it?
That's exactly what I'm telling you.
He's already made up his mind. Apparently, he's already made up your mind.
No, that could be. Mr. Orlo or any of us could say there that a tunnel's not going to happen. But until a vote is taken, you've heard, you guys have been here this evening, you've seen a lot of votes taken. Mr. Lambert will ask for a motion, one of them makes a motion, and then the other seconds it, and then there's a vote. So just one of them just making a blanket statement about anything doesn't count. That doesn't count. So what Mr. Orlo said, that's his opinion, and that's how he thinks it's going to end up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen.
I just want to let you know, I appreciate your passion, because we've been to township meetings for years about things here. But there is a process, though. And coming to the meetings is really important, and letting them know, but it's a lot of work and a lot of energy. And I will tell you this, truth, developers have more power in this township, most townships. It's not our supervisor's issue. It's the fact that the developers and their lawyers know how to get things done. So that being, and that's not a judgment, that's something we've experienced in our time with you. But just please know that they are listening to what you're saying. They really are, okay? And keep coming back to the township meetings and pay attention to when he said, check the website. Yeah, exactly. And I so appreciate that, and I appreciate your passion, because we need people like that. Yeah, okay. But they're also reasonable. They're listening to us. They really are. They really are. And he can't vote all by himself. Look, okay. Us too. But they're working
Any other comments, Donna? Okay. Like to make a motion for the draft.
This would be a motion on the master plan.
On the
Not
master-
land development, not any crossings, not any traffic improvements, correct?
This would have components of the traffic improvements, but those would be refined and defined in further detail
Right.
during land development.
No permits have been issued,
Oh, no,
correct?
yes, no, not at all.
And can be changed at any point in time forward until,
Yeah, and just like we said, this all is going to come through PennDOT as well. PennDOT's going to have a lot of say in this. This is not like a done deal. If anything, what would come out of something like this is a future condition that, if requested, if warranted, if permitted, the developer will be on the hook. It's more about what they're being required or what they're going to be funding in the future. If the decision that's made that a trail doesn't make sense, they would just be relieved of that obligation, I guess, would be one way to put it.
Right.
Zach, a question then, because before what you said about, I forget which one, that, the billboards and how they want to cut the trees, that there are residents, I think, Scott, you said it, residents who have something to say about that they could contact PennDOT. The same for anybody who might be concerned about this, they can also contact PennDOT, correct?
Absolutely.
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 And to be clear, that is a PennDOT road. Township does not own it. Bernadette, I had a question. And with our vote on this, does that what does that preclude? Because I'm a little hesitant to make a motion without the information Lou wants to provide to me about the school.
Yeah, so the motion is just to authorize the solicitor's office to draft the resolution with the input of staff. So Lou can still provide that information. You'll see a draft of the resolution. It would be considered at the next meeting. We can always change the resolution. So this is just the authorizing us to start the draft.
Or include conditions.
And include conditions. Yes, and again, I think exactly, I may have missed what you were saying. This is the master plan, it's not the land development. Yeah.
Just so everyone understands what that means is it's kind of like a two-step it is a two-step process. If the board votes tonight to authorize the preparation of this resolution, that doesn't mean anything's approved. It means that the solicitor, Ms. Kearney, sitting here to my right, her office will prepare a resolution with certain requirements and conditions, and then there'll be another public meeting, maybe next month, probably next month, the 8th of November, at which the resolution would be considered, and then they would take another vote on whether to approve it or not. So I just want everyone to understand what's happening.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to authorize solicitor to draft a resolution.
you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right, and the next piece would be the land development.
Yeah, so the next piece is really an extension for the ongoing review of phase one, which would include these improvements. So they are expecting a resubmission here soon in response to some of the previous technical comments. The agenda was drafted before the date had kind of been finalized, I'd say, with Lou and his client. So it's noted here is December 26, 2023. They've offered an extension for the township to render its decision until January 30th, 2024. So this is, again, just additional time for the ongoing technical review to proceed.
Have we seen any review letters yet?
Yeah, so we've
To us?
gotten, I guess there's been at least one round of reviews from all of the consultants, and they'll be responding back sort of with those comments in mind. But yeah, one comment. They haven't been before you from like a technical review standpoint, but internally we've been reviewing them and they've received their reviews.
Have they applied for their HOP permit yet?
No, I think there's been some initial scoping and coordination type meetings, just getting some initial feedback from PennDOT.
Oh, yeah,
Right. So do you want to make a motion on 7B?
I'll make a motion to grant an extension of time to render a decision on the following, on the LD 0-05-2023 for the Greystar Apartments, also known as Phase 1 of Great Valley Corporate Center redevelopment, to December 26, 2023.
So it'll actually be January 30th, 24, sorry. That was my fault.
Correction, January 30th,
Yeah.
2024.
And just like that, we're talking about 2024.
January 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Extension granted. John, if you can give us update on zoning? Code enforcement?
Are they here today? Oh, sorry.
wait, there you
Stop. There we go. For the month, we only have one zoning hearing board application this month. Is the application of Esky Development as a certain property at 73 Ton Road. The application is for a special exception to the terms of Section 200-43 in the Industrial Zoning District, subsection B for permitted uses to allow the proposed use of sales, service, maintenance, charging, repair, and storage of new and pre-owned vehicles, parts, and accessories wherein the code permits said use as a special exception. I believe they have a representative here. If you have any questions of them, the zoning hearing board in the recent past granted a similar application of 415 3-ton road. And this application is for a building that was actually just recently finished and a use and occupancy permit issued for at 73 ton.
That is correct. Hello, my name is Ryan Furlong. I'm an attorney here on behalf of the applicant, Esky Development. It was a very succinct summary of the application. Here, if the board has any questions or if you'd like me to go into any further detail, I'm happy to.
Yes, I've been watching this building be built as I travel up and down 3-ton road, and it's great to know that it has been developed. And just curious what business is going in there.
The prospective tenant is Rivian.
Okay. Oh.
So that's where the charging comes from. It would not be commercial charging. It'd just be charging associated with the business. So if a customer comes in to get their vehicle serviced, Rivian can provide it back to them with a full charge.
Very good. So they're going to sell Rivian cars and trucks out of there?
Not so much. So that's sort of the unique business model of Rivian or Tesla, or sort of the new age of buying cars in general. Rivian does all of their sales online. You would be able to come to the facility to do a demo drive, but there's no sales that actually takes place at the property. There would be no salespeople there. There'd be someone you'd meet with who'd be able to teach you about the car, but no pricing or anything of that is discussed. The vehicles that will be on site will be there only for about a week. They will only be transported to the site if they've been purchased by a customer in the area.
Sounds like a great use.
Is there any charging that'll be occurring on that location?
Not for the public. So it'd be for Rivian's use so that they can charge the vehicles
those
that are
vehicles as they
delivered
come
there, similar to gas station, typical, combustible engine
Right.
motor vehicle sales that might have a gas station there.
Greg, have we had a chance to take a look at their plan in terms of safety and fire? Do you have any objection to that
No.
input? I think it would just make sense.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll hook up with the applicant, get information for the fire chief if there's not already some contained in a file, and then we'll work it out before the zoning hearing board meeting comes up.
Okay.
I don't see the need to send solicitor to the zoning hearing board.
I don't think so, Mr.
No.
Orlow.
Agreed.
As long as you, if you have any major issues, you need to let John know. I would say if Greg, would you agree if Greg has got some issues, then we may want to, depending on what the issues
Well,
are,
if there are issues, hopefully you can review it before the zoning hearing board meeting and
resolve it.
go there.
Yeah, I don't think that Rivian is going to be interested in creating a fire hazard on the property, so
Right.
we're willing to do whatever the fire marshal deems is necessary.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For updates for the month, at the end of July, our office sent out a development-wide notice for proactive enforcement in the Bryn Aaron development after receiving several resident complaints of property maintenance violations. In early September, we started a systematic patrol of the development and issued 70 violation warnings, letters which included sidewalk, weed, trash, and inoperable motor vehicle issues. So far, we've had many positive responses from these actions. We've had many instances of immediate compliance and have had multiple contacts with the residents, granting them extension of the compliance dates to work on things, especially the sidewalk issues. We'll continue to work with the owners and the residents in that area to achieve voluntary compliance.
So, John, you're saying if I understand that sidewalk repairs can be expensive, and if they reach out to you for an extension on that, they will most likely get that.
That's correct. We worked it out.
Thank you for answering that question. I'm sure a lot of homeowners, occupants were a little shell shocked from letters they received about the potential.
I'll add in Chief Yeager's absence, there also has been an increased police presence up there due to some issues that were also reported to us that they're monitoring and they're taking care of.
If I got the police department did a lot of some tickets, some abandoned vehicles that were on the street, issued warnings to them.
Yep.
So hopefully, this continued action by our department and the police department will hopefully make it better for the community and all the residents in that area.
Do you have a Brent Aaron question?
Yes.
Okay.
So the
And again,
ticketing,
if we can get your name and
John
address.
Galasso, 100 Church Road, Malvern, Pennsylvania. The citations of the vehicle isn't equally being forced within the Bryn Aaron. It's only the residents within the field. It's not the residents either against the 202 wall that are getting ticketed. There's no definitive, supposedly, we were told originally when we moved there that it was the 6 feet on the other side of the alleyway was a right of ours. And then ordinance is passed and we're told that's not, now, no longer on the other side of the alleyway is our property. So, and that we're gonna be ticketed. So what happens come winter when you require us to move our cars off the street? Are we gonna still continue to be ticketed if we park in the township field? Is the township gonna plow the alleyway now that they are considering our property ends at the concrete curb and no longer the 5 feet on the other side of the driveway? Is the township going to equally enforce that through Bryn Aaron against other? If that's so, the 6 feet rule is no longer part of your house deed, or I'm sorry, might be saying the wrong, but then the people along the wall on 202 need to have the equal enforcement of the law, because they're doing the same thing as the residents that are in the center field, and only the residents in the center field are being subjected to the new rules and violations. There's been multiple campfires and chimeneas they're allowed to have. Center field is not allowed to have it. They're allowed to have sheds behind their houses. They're allowed to have food trailers behind their houses. They're all being considered on what you have previously told us was beyond the 6 feet township property. So we would like to know a resolution to where's the line drawn in the sand here for who's going to be taking care of the alleyway, who gets summonses and who doesn't. One person is told 24. I was told 24 hours by I'm sorry, this is coming to mind, by the officer the first day this all came about. I was told I only had 24 hours to move my belongings and my vehicles, but other residents were given far more time before they were ticketed. So it's just a complete I don't care, this person, I'll do this person, but not this person. There's an abandoned car right next to my house. I can show you a video of the abandoned car yesterday. Cops standing there looking at it. They don't ticket it. It's got an expired inspection sticker from 2011 with also expired registration sticker on it from 2011. The tires are green. They're not doing their job.
Okay. Brent Aaron does not have a homeowners association, do they? They do not. Okay.
It's considered township. It's considered so we're under the same rules as the rest of anybody that resides not in, like you said, homeowner associations, township rules. So hold on. Technically, if there's going to be rules enforced, they need to be, in Bryn Aaron, they need to be enforced throughout the entire township, because we don't have a homeowners association.
I think similar to the situation that occurred with the original complaints going in, is that we had to do some research and look into it. And I guess, is that something you would recommend here to try to get more details?
Yeah, most of the issues that the gentleman brought up, I have no idea what he's talking about unless he was dealing with a police officer. All the notices that went out from our office had a standard 14-day compliance, request to contact us with questions and issues, provided phone number, email address. I got multiple calls that I still, as of today, was returning calls to people because I was on vacation last week. And so we did not issue any decisions on areas that were outside of our ownership, such as the area he was talking about on PennDOT's wall and the right-of-way behind the Markle Road properties. We were concerned, and on motor vehicles, the only notices we issued were vehicles that were on our property or on private properties with expired registration, inspection, or inoperable, which means they have to be, the code calls that, the property maintenance code calls that vehicles must be operable to be kept on any property. That's
And-
what the township code states, and that's the reason we issued the letters of
I
compliance
thought he was finished.
written as such.
Wait, I thought he was. But like I just said, it's not though. Literally yesterday, the two cops stood in front of a car that isn't banded and has expired registration and stickers. They're not doing, they're choosing, and this is the gentleman that has made many false claims against the center field. You're getting like lies and false
Okay.
reports from
I
this
think-
gentleman.
I think at this point in time, we need to do some research and talk further with you and talk with the police chief in terms of what they're doing, what they're seeing, and review the procedures over there. Does that make some sense?
It seems like
Okay,
you're
so,
looking at
yeah,
it.
I agree that we need consistency throughout. So I'm hearing what you're saying. Okay, a lot of this is first time hearing this, so, we can't give you a solution right away.
There's two
So
people. Every time, okay, we have great outcomes out there. We had a fire pit for years, never had a problem. Now all of a sudden, we got two neighbors that are very unsociable. They don't like to have the fun or anything. We have parties out there for the kids. Like now, coming up, we have planned for a pumpkin carving party. Now, every Halloween, we sit out in the field and we have a pumpkin carving party. We have a little fire with the chimney. The police said get a chimney, not the pits. We got the chimney. But now we have a neighbor that's because they're upset with me because I caught them throwing trash from their yard into the field, and I yelled at them and told them I got 4 trash cans around our community garden. I got 4 trash cans around our community garden. I said, you got a trash can in your yard, and you're going to grab that paper and them cans and them bottles and throw them in the field? So I yelled at her. I told her, don't be a pig, pick it up, throw it in the trash. So we had the fire that night. Kids are out there, 3 of them, right in front of our little red hot coals, cooking marshmallows. They called the cops because they thought they're mad at me. Cops come, and the hook and ladder fire truck shows up. Then you got this bozo from the fire truck walk up with a fire extinguisher while the kids are holding their marshmallows, squirt their friggin' marshmallows in the fire with the fire hose. Because these people are mad. For years, even the cops come out there and said, sat down, the fire commissioner came out and sat down and said, it was great, we should have no problem. But yet, that's not good. It's more than 100 feet away from any burnable structure. The kids were out there, there's always at least 10, 15 adults with the kids. Just the guy, again, from Marco calls and says, there's 12-foot high flames. I hear the cops walk up, I heard the one cop say, yeah, that asshole from number 5, Marco, said there was 12-foot high flames. These are just a bunch of kids cooking marshmallows. But yet now, all of a sudden, we're not allowed to have that no more. My garden is considered a piece of trash. But yet, you got pictures? There's a lady lives across the street. The front of her house is falling down, falling apart. Her weeds in her backyard are higher than the house. But yet, you want to take a look at these? Would you like to see them?
Sure.
This is what her house looks like. We called many times to have this resolved. And we're told we don't want to do nothing about it because we're responsible. You look at these. That's her front of her house. That's the back of her house. That's the driveway. That's the front of her house.
Okay.
These are from the side. That's the back. Look at that. It's destroying the neighbor's soffits because they won't do nothing about it.
I'm sorry, your name again?
My name is Steve.
All right, Steve, listen.
It
I think,
upsets me because I do a lot with the
I
kids.
understand.
do a lot.
I
You know,
understand.
and they look at something like this, and I say, we can't have that no more.
I understand you're upset. I think there's apparently a number of issues that need to be addressed throughout the community.
I mean,
and
they're saying my garden's an eyesore, but that's not. My garden got to be removed. but you
Steve,
don't do
I'm
nothing about
I'm
that.
trying to resolve this here with you and not banter back and forth what's right and wrong. There's obviously some issues here, all right? We need to figure out the best way to address your concerns and the other issues of the neighbors, okay? And I think we've got to put our staff together, get together with the police, and talk this through and have a sit down perhaps with you and understand what the issues are and address those issues. Okay? And so, at this point in time, it's hard for any of us to say, we need to do this, this, and this, because there's a lot of
Understood.
unknowns here that we need to look at.
But we were kind of guys, why don't they look at this as harassment? Because this guy, Tom, 5 different kids were at having birthday parties. On 5 occasions, he called the cops. They came, they said, we have to leave, we can't do it. Then all of a sudden, got the other people leave up, they see me out there. We have a little get together. We have what we call adult nights. Anybody over 60. We sit there, we play Pictionary and stuff like that. We have games with the kids. We have slip and slides, bring your own pool parties, horseshoes. We have a little bonfire, make s'mores. I have a chimney, not the pit no more, it's a chimney. And there's always a dog. I have a hose, a 300-foot hose. I run right to the pit.
I've seen your slip and slide out there. Looks like fun.
Wait, when you have 80-year-old ladies doing down that slip and slide,
so Steve,
why take that away from us? You just don't use that field. You don't utilize it.
Here's what I'm proposing to guys. Please leave your address, your names, and your numbers so that we can contact you, okay, and have conversations with you.
It hurts me because he's.
And then we'll get together.
Kids don't enjoy it.
Okay, and we'll talk this through and figure out a solution.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Like I said,
I can't come up with a solution right now.
I'm really upset because
I can't come
the
up with a
kids,
solution
the kids are
right
the ones
now.
that are really
Steve,
paying for it.
Steve. All right. Anything else, John?
No, that's it.
Okay. Moving on to, again, numbers, telephone, addresses. And I guess we're now looking at public comment. Oh, God.
Questions, hopefully not raise a ruckus. All right, because I know it's getting late. All right. Are we still planning on having a follow-up meeting with the residences from, we were planning on having one after the DEP meeting. Is that on board, and do we have a date for that?
Steve's got some update on that.
Yeah, the short answer is we haven't followed up. After the DEP meeting, what date was that? September 12th, I think. It doesn't matter what date. After that, Maya Van Rossum spoke with me briefly, and she indicated that maybe this was just her opinion and maybe not the residents' opinion, but she didn't, trying to remember exactly what she said. Basically, she didn't feel there was a reason to rush to have a township meeting. So we have not been working on a date. So the short answer is right now, we haven't done anything.
I kind of think that there's a miscommunication on that.
Yeah,
because that was not the impression I got when I spoke with her recently. Because we had a discussion, because I missed the last township meeting. I obviously missed a couple things. My concern is that the clock is always ticking. The clock continues to tick, deadlines are set. And I feel as a resident that I would like to sit down with the consultants, who are totally separate from the builder consultants and the DEP and the ones that we got the grant money for, and see what their thinking is as far as what's lacking in this. And I guess I feel that maybe the time has come for just a more candid sit-down, face-to-face discussion where we can just, I'd like to know where things are at this point and what you think is the best course of action as far as, the consultants and I had some real concerns that didn't get addressed. I understand why they weren't addressed. But again, as we continue to vote on whether or not we're going to approve this plan or not approve this plan, and we still don't even know what kind of equipment they're going to use to monitor our health and safety. I guess that really bothered me, that nobody could say to me, well, we're going to use the A59 air, detection system or this, give me a couple of them. We're going to monitor twice daily. We're going to monitor, because if they would have said to me, we're going to monitor once every 2 weeks, I would have hit the ceiling about that one. Like, no, pollution happens faster than that. So I had some concerns, and I guess I would like the consultants. So I personally, and I mean, you could certainly take a survey. I don't want to take it off the table. I want to be able to sit down.
Let me just say, it's quite possible I misunderstood her. I'd swear
Okay.
she said something like there's no rush or no need to
Well-
move ahead with it, but that it was after the meeting and conversations were going on.
And the rush becomes, and here come the holidays, ho, ho, ho. Do I have the right date in knowing that December 13th is when you will have to decide whether or not you're going to approve the plan? Because isn't it like December 24th, the deadline or something?
26.
The 26th. So your last meeting is the 13th, correct? Yes.
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
it is the
So
13th.
you guys have to decide by then whether you're going to say yes, no. And we have ample reasons why we can say no. There's laws and things and all that. But, so that's a concern. Or you have to postpone it again. And I just think it's ridiculous to keep postponing it. If that's the definite date, then that means that the planning commission has to put in their 2 cents on, talk about holidays.
Guys,
When's-
can we? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hey Deb, can I just clarify one thing on the process there? So we haven't received a resubmission from the first round of reviews. I'd be willing to bet at this point that there's likely going to be another extension, at least for us to consider, because as you know, Planning Commission, usually at least one stop to the board, we're already kind of like feasibly, like it's really not, they're already kind of up against that timeline. So we'll probably reach out and request one well in advance of December.
Again, the time is to just say no. Was never a fan of that woman, but I'm sorry, it is late. It's time to stop with the extensions. From a legal perspective, the longer you keep extending, the more you keep giving false hope. The more you keep giving false hope, the more money the builder spends. The more money the builder spends, the more he can sue you for, because you cost him money when you said no. So why don't we just put our foot down and say no? There's certainly, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I got your back down.
And the other date is, she's gonna get my back, she's gonna finish a sentence that I shouldn't even started, but the other date is, the Planning Commission is due to discuss this on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Has anybody thought that that is a poor date to have such an important topic? Is it going to be changed? It has to be
changed.
You're guaranteed. Can you get back to me when you, I mean.
Is this part of why we're going to ask for an extension, just because of the holidays?
Not specifically, but we have discussed rescheduling that planning commission
is
meeting.
supposed to happen first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm aware, obviously. That's why I wanted to just clarify. I sensed that you were concerned over the timeline, so I just wanted to offer it to you that
I'm
we will
always
likely
concerned over the
pursue another
timeline.
extension, given the amount of activity that I think you're assuming will happen over the holidays, which I'm assuming will likely not happen. So I think that's something we need to discuss and follow up with the applicant on.
Mm-hmm. And if you could get back to me and kind of let me know what's going on. I don't think it's all an applicant. I think it's time to stop this.
We had sent a letter, it was from Delaware Riverkeeper Network, and because in the back of our minds as a community, who have been on this for maybe 7 years, 8 years now, and that it's been toxic and the DEP knew about it for decades. But all the information that you have in front of you, and there was a letter from the Delaware Riverkeeper Network on August 15th, 2023, and I'm just curious about why you feel you can't say no, because everything that's in this letter says legally, by your ordinances, and the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, there's 4.5 pages of your ordinances and why you can legally say no. Not to mention our constitutional right in this state of Pennsylvania. So in all of that, to back up Deb's thing, like what are we afraid of that we can't say no to this? Because the preliminary, the approval that you approved of and the latest one are in conflict with each other. Doesn't meet your ordinances. So I'm just curious. The final land development approval is unwarranted, given that the Brian O'Neill and the CDP chose to ask for an approval of proposed application that fails to meet the essential criteria put forth in the township's preliminary approval. So,
Are you talking about the approval or the extension?
well, this is the approval. This is your ability, and I know that Maya had talked to Scott, and I know she said, like, if you want to sit down and talk to her about why legally you can say no to this. And
Are you
I'm
speaking
not
of
a
the
lawyer.
approval or the extension?
to the whole thing. To the whole
Say no
thing.
to the whole thing.
To the
Say
whole
no
thing,
to the
it's,
approval.
They feel the township has the right and is in a position to deny the final land development plan
Mhm.
and face the consequences, whatever they are.
Yeah.
There will be an appeal, clearly.
well, he appealed us, he
Fair.
slapped us 5 times and
Well, that's
kept appealing.
different, yeah.
And
Well,
we're
it's
still
not
here.
different, he still
different.
does what he does.
What's different? That's right, yeah. And the risk, there are a number of protective conditions that are attached to the earlier zoning and preliminary approval. And I don't know if it is a risk that if it's denied and on appeal, whether those conditions will remain. To me, that's the biggest risk.
We're being
That-
told
That would be a disaster. Then you have no protection.
That
in
who
my
has
opinion.
no protection.
the 17 conditions that are in the preliminary would go out
Yeah.
the door. There would be none,
Has-
is what we're being told by our legal experts.
Has to be evaluated. It's still
We're
has to
concerned
be
about,
evaluated.
we put those conditions in there to protect people, and they could possibly be totally eroded.
Isn't the end
But-
goal
No,
to get it cleaned up?
But besides that, this is what I don't like. I don't like not knowing. I don't like not knowing. I don't know, I just would rather, I can't afford a lawyer. The only lawyer we have is Maya Van Rossum and what she knows legally. And Mr. Calagreco, like, people like that, Right. But I want to know a little bit more after having a daughter with 3 brain tumors and all the people in my neighborhood that were sick, and then all the things that the DEP doesn't know. Like, why can't we say, I do want to know more, Scott. And whether and I would like you to talk with us and Maya and let me understand a little bit more about, and this is exhausting too. It's yes, I know, but you bought into this job. Okay? And I know that on your ticket, you came knocking and sat with Larry and I and talked about what you would do for us. I understand. Larry took you around Bishop Tube, and you guys were awed by what it was that you said yes to. My husband Larry took you around. I stood on my couch and yelled at you one night. I don't know if you remember that, but Pete down the street, lived in the neighborhood.
You lived in the neighborhood.
So, sorry. I just want to know. I want to know where we stand, and I want transparency. Too. I want to know where I want to put my energy because I don't have much left. I'm not giving up, but I don't have much left. And this should
And I even have
never
less than she
happen.
does,
This
'cause
should
I'm
never
older.
happen. This building should never happen. And after DEP, those machines that they're going to need to go into that to make cleanup, are they going to come down Village Way? You weren't there that night. Check it out. Huge,
I was
huge
there.
machines. Come down Village Way? We don't want them down Village Way. Bernadette, you have a question? Oh, I didn't, oh, you were on the other side. I knew Scott was there. Yeah.
We were all there.
Oh, you saw the
Yeah,
machines. This means a lot to us in my neighborhood, and not only us, it's downstream and it's upwind, Malvern, who are affected.
The building is one thing. Isn't the main goal to get it cleaned up? Is that
Yes, and
still-
I do have questions about that.
Okay.
And that's what a lot of the questions are. I also have questions about the sanity of continuing this on, because I believe, and I'm tired of pussyfooting and making nice about the building. You know, I've been nice long enough. I believe that they figure they have the money and they will fight me until I stop, until I am in my grave. And I have told you that. I mean, I started this after I retired. This is like my part-time project, you know? And, you know, I will stand as long as I can stand, as long as I can walk. I really don't give a darn about what kind of money they're losing anymore. I will stand in the middle of Route 30 with a sign and say, do you really want to have your grandchildren to this house for dinner? You know, nobody will buy in there. But the point is, we shouldn't have to do that. They did not meet you gave them 17 criteria. They didn't meet it. Why are we approving a final project? They didn't meet the criteria. You gave it to them. You told them what it was. They didn't meet it. Then say no, you didn't meet it. There, right there is the perfect answer. Along with the state constitution, along with some of your other laws that you have within the township. They haven't met those things. So say no. To quote that. See, you got me. You know what I'm talking about. That was. I try to bring one amusing fact each night. So thank you for listening to me. If you could get back to me about dates, about anything, that would be helpful. Yeah, because there's no way. I gotta make a turkey.
So wait 1 second, please, because we have people that are waiting to talk online. They've been waiting for a long time. So if Martin, you could go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi, I have a separate issue. I don't want to interrupt the discussion of Bishop 2, so if other people want to speak on Bishop 2, I'll wait my turn.
I think they were done, actually. They are done, right?
Okay. Well, the issue I would raise then is, I want to revisit an issue I raised back at your June and July meetings. And that pertains to the section of Lap Road that was closed many years ago. As you may recall, there was a section of Lap Road that was closed maybe 30-some years ago to prevent traffic from using the residential neighborhoods going to and from the corporate center. At the time, the plan was that that section of Lap Road that was closed would be gated and would be covered with dirt and mowed. Now, what's happened is over time, that section of Lap Road is completely overgrown and, for all intents and purposes, impassable. Now, the reason I persist in raising this issue is there are a number of developments going on in the non-residential area of Lap Road towards Route 29. We just discussed one tonight, the residential development of the corporate center, where Lap Road is going to be extended to Route 29. And there are other developments where paths or sidewalks are going to be put in place. Now, from a residential perspective of people that live along Lap Road, Wilburdale Road, keeping the section of Lap Road that's been closed in mowed condition, supposed to be an emergency access road, is great from a recreational standpoint. You know, kids can ride their bikes down there, what have you, or residents can walk down to the future, paths, extension, lap road, what have you, out through 29, and possibly there'll be a crossing on Route 29 to the park. So where we left it back at the, I believe, July meeting was that the township was going to look further into this and report back. So that's what I'm asking. Where do we stand on this matter?
Hi, Mr. Lutz. This is John Neild. We did walk that old road section, and we do have plans to clear that back so it's accessible to walk through there. I don't know.
Well, that'd be great.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I said that would be great.
I don't know that it's going to be an emergency access road for vehicles with the way that they abandon it with putting the soil over the old roadbed, but it will be accessible.
Yeah. Well, you may want to, John, look into that a little further, because I was actively involved with the closure of Lab Road back then. And I think the intent, the reason it was gated was to allow it to be an emergency access road. But
okay.
Be that as it may, I think it's great that you're going to restore that, at least to remove that overgrowth and keep it in a mowed condition.
Right, and it will be on our mow list.
Okay, great. The other thing I mentioned is the gates. I could be wrong, but it seems one of the gates on Lab Road at the intersection of Lab and Wilburdale doesn't have a lock on it. It seems to be broken or something. You may want to look into that.
Okay, we'll check that out. I know Pico's been back in there with some power outages, so they might have had to cut it to get in there.
Sounds great, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, John, do you know offhand what development occurred that showed or reserved this access of Lap Road? Was it the corporate center itself?
Yes, when
Liberty property?
Right.
Okay.
When they developed the corporate center, they cut that off, so it wasn't an access for commercial vehicles.
Okay.
Don, anyone else sitting out there?
I just want to know, as far as all the ethnic background of all the people that come out there, you would hope that you people want everyone to get together in the community and be safe. We do that every time we can. We like to sit out there and have a little fire with the chimney, and the ethnic background's amazing. Now, we sit there for Halloween, have pumpkin carving, Christmas, tree decorating. We've had birthdays, weddings, things like that out there. And we got two people that call up and complain all the time, and because of that, now we can't do it. So like now, if we decide to have a little fire in a chimney out there, it's more than 100 foot away from any burnable structure. We sit around it with the kids, and we have sometimes coloring book nights. We have Pictionary nights. We have senior nights, different events for the kids and whatnot. But now we're afraid to even go into the field because you're going to get fined. That's what the parents are telling their children. You're not allowed to play in the field or you're going to get fined. This is what's going to happen to you. But yet, we can't have a chimney there and enjoy it. You just don't use the property. We use it. We make it feasible for everybody there. Never any fights, no arguments. Everybody gets along. We have a good time. We're not allowed to have a fire there. Okay, it's township property. You say abandoned cars. If it's on your property, you get ticketed for it because it's not registered. But what about people that have fire chimneys in their yards? We're drawing you 10, 15 feet from a house. I would say that's more of a hazard than a fire pit that's out there and your home's over here. I don't see the sense of punishing all these kids because you have two people that are unsociable that call. If you check their records, it's the same two people calling time and time and time and time again because this over here don't like this one, this over here don't like that one. So whenever we're out there, we're just going to call ruin the parties. But then we're getting punished for something that's not doing any harm.
Steve,
My neighbor's a landscaper. We cut that whole entire field at times where the township doesn't have to do it. Just because they want to do it because they enjoy cutting grass. Right? I have a big flower bed there. You've seen the pictures of Nancy's house. That's an eyesore. But you do nothing about that. You see the picture of my garden? You ever see the garden? Not my garden, our garden, the community garden with fruits, vegetables. We have hummingbirds. You have all kinds of birds out there. You have animals out there, rabbits and things like that. The kids love it. Majority of the kids started that. But now we're being told that has to be taken away and grass put back in there. But yet you do nothing about the eyesore across the street that everybody has to look at. You see the back of the house? That pictures I showed you?
Steve, I don't mean to cut you off, but we
But
absolutely
why is
hear your
why is our
concerns.
garden an eyesore and we're not allowed to utilize the field when you don't use it at all? We do, but we take care of it.
hear
We
your
clean
concerns,
it.
and
You
this
ask the
is the
guys to
first
cut the
we've heard of
grass.
it.
I'm out there all the time picking up trash, telling the kids, yo, respect it. You know, I do a lot out there, and yet now I'm told I can't do nothing because it's your property and you don't want us on it. It's not like we do damage. We improved it, I believe. We take care of it. I have my own landscaping crew that takes care of it. We cut around that garden, that weed whack, we take care of it. But now we're told you got to get rid of it, but yet you do nothing about Nancy's house or the other houses.
We hear you. This is the first we heard. We're gonna address it. Please don't leave this meeting and think you're not heard.
Okay, so that being said, now what about for the holiday? The kids want to have pumpkin carving. If we're out there on the field at the picnic bench carving pumpkins and whatnot, is he going to have the cops come out and arrest us, give us tickets?
I can't speak to that.
What?
Steve, at this point,
No, I'm saying,
we understand.
I got over 50. I got close to.
I know you're frustrated, and I
got close to
understand what
$8
you're
grand
saying.
wrapped up in that yard, in that field. That I put $8,000 of my money into that to help people out. And now I'm told it's an eyesore. Take it out. I want grass put back in there. Come on, be for real. Be for real. I mean, you understand that this backyard is amazing. And that's what you want. But you're destroying it. You're throwing it away.
Again, we'll get information and we will sit down and talk with you and figure out a solution here. Okay?
Next meeting, we'll be able to come in here and I would love to see you in person and talk to you. You have nothing out there to see.
Okay. Steve, I understand. Okay.
I'm going to right now.
Yep. It sounds like you got some great programs, so again, we're gonna address it, okay? We're gonna address it. At this point, I need to, you're allotted time for, we gotta move on. But again, we hear you, okay? We hear you.
We've got all their emails and I've got all their emails and their phone numbers and addresses, so somebody will be in
Great.
contact
So
with them,
We'll get working on it.
Okay, we have a couple questions in the queue.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Bill and Barb.
Hi, good evening, Barb Arnold, 31 Fongstock Road. I'll just make this very quick, just to reiterate what Deb and Kate said, that yes, I would definitely be interested in the township scheduling a meeting, like a follow-up to the DEP meeting. And I know a few of my neighbors immediately around me, I mentioned it to them, and they had said to me, yeah, let me know when that's happening. So there is interest, and they're out there in you guys having a follow-up meeting. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. Carol Rapp, go ahead, please.
Hi, Carol Rapp, 89 Village Way. Also reiterating, Steve, we were expecting that you guys would schedule a township meeting to follow up with DEP, and Maya, from our conversations, is also expecting that. So the sooner we could get that scheduled for everybody, I think that would be great. We don't want to lose momentum on this with Bishop Tube. So anyway, I just want to reiterate that as well. Thank you.
The one comment I think that I think I need to make is that I think the problem with having a meeting is that we don't have any definitive direction plans from DEP to really talk about, and am I correct in that assumption?
Isn't it as definitive as it's going to be at this stage?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it, Rich, is that, and Scott, you're right, as we found out that evening at the school, that this is kind of an outline, or there's a lot of details missing that we all learned that evening that need to be studied and analyzed and decided upon. And so, right, if we have a public meeting, and clearly I must have misunderstood Maya, I'm not quite sure what she said. I'll have to give her a call. But the residents are telling us loud and clear they would like to have the meeting. So if we do have a meeting, it's going to be with, again, imperfect information.
The information is imperfect because that's all that exists right now. And any new information is not going to exist for years. It sounds like the first phase of the cleanup, if it goes forward, that alone, they said at the DEP meeting, unless I'm wrong, is going to take almost all of next year.
Yeah.
So I don't know wherever the issue will be is we will receive requests to deny the plan. Or if they extend for 5 years the plan, which who knows, we're still going to get requests to deny the plan. That's going to be the ongoing tug of war.
Again, Rich, you're right that, as I understand it, the DEP wants to wrap up whatever discussions and settlement they're having with the PRPs first. And I don't know how long that will take. And once they do that, I believe there's a public comment period because they have to have an agreement. And then you get into the studying, we'll say, or the engineering and the science and the analysis, which, as you noted, will take time. So, right, again, if we hold a public meeting, it's just based on what we know now, and we'll have probably as many questions as the residents do.
I mentioned during that meeting and subsequently, I've mentioned that certainly a key point are the basins that they talked about, that they were going to possibly have to relocate the development site, but they won't know until 2024 when they do their study. So that has a huge impact.
Sure.
A huge impact.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, again, one of those specific examples that it's hard to talk about, the plan and what we're going to do and without knowing more of the details.
Then maybe one of the things we need to talk about is an ongoing system of communication, because a lot is going to slip through the cracks. How indefinitely long are the taxpayers going to be willing to pay for a consultant for one project? And I know that you're committed to that. I know that you are. Well, then maybe that's who we need to meet with to give some reinsurances to understand and be educated. This is a process for me too. And I've said this to all of you at different occasions. I'm not a scientist. I am learning as I go along, but I like to have the opportunity to ask questions. I don't like to get caught with my pants down and not be, where I should be at a meeting or get feedback from people or be prepared. So maybe that's what we need to talk about is what happens long range. If this is going to go on for years, how can we handle it collectively as a community? How can we make sure that communication is ongoing and that we're getting feedback from a variety of sources? All the scientists we can get. That's, I'll listen to all of them. I'm not sure I'll understand all of them, but I will definitely listen to all of them. So, and that was the game plan. So I guess, and if there's not going to be a meeting, then obviously,
there can be a meeting, and any meeting of the township will have the representatives from BSTI there. They're the environmental experts to ask questions of. No question about it. I'm not going to sit here and answer questions without those guys here.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
I guarantee it. Okay.
Thank you.
If that's a concern,
Mm-hmm.
put it to rest.
Okay.
Any meeting of the township on Bishop Duke will have our experts here.
Definitely. Thank you. That's always appreciated.
All right, we have one more question. Carol Rapp, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to cycle back on that, what you guys were just saying. We don't trust this builder, and we have very strong concerns about why this keeps coming up on township meeting agendas. Why we, if it's gonna go another year and 5 years, we don't want to have to worry about this coming up on every agenda about whether you're going to vote to approve an extension, whether you're going to vote to approve the development. We just don't understand it. We don't understand with all this that's unknown, how this developer can continue to submit a plan. And we just don't understand why we can't say, no, stop. We cannot move forward with anything until DEP is done. And we were in the same meeting, Scott. They said 2024. So why does this keep coming up on an agenda item for Bishop Tube? I just don't understand it. And we have to constantly be watching because we worry if we don't, or if we don't show up, something's going to get approved. That's what we worry about. And, this is our lives. I live 5 houses from that place. 5 houses. And I do not want that land disturbed for putting in residential housing. It's insane to me. It's just insane to me. And I just don't understand why it just keeps being brought up as a potential thing, knowing all the hazards that are there. I just don't understand it. And like Deb said, we're tired, but we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. And it's just so much on residents. We just need to know somebody has our back. Anyway, that's it. I'll stop for the night, Donna.
Don't forget, we've asked for community emails so that if something comes up, we can push out to everybody. So I'm not sure where that has gotten the last month or two. But if one of you ladies would like to.
No, in all honesty, Donna contacted me and I said I would bring it up at the next meeting and I forgot. And that was just this past week. That was just the other night. I will, and I told her, in the meanwhile, if there's anything that you want to go out, everybody that's on our email list, you send it to me personally and I will get it out. Whether it's, but I didn't want to give her my email contact, but I won't wait for the next meeting. I'll bring it up this week.
Okay. I think we all are in agreement that trying to get information out to you guys is important. And I think we've tried to do it. It is fast moving, changes a lot. There's a lot of moving parts and people involved with it. But if we at least have that, and then maybe.
I don't see why we can't, but it's not mine to get. That's why I had to bring it. I was going to
Sure.
So I will wait for another meeting. And my apologies. That's me.
Sure. I know there's been a few times where things have come up where I've sent Kathleen Stouffer information about, to try to figure she'll pass it along. But let's see if we can get the emails and then keep the lines of communication open. Okay. Moving on to final item is the consent agenda, which I will read in its entirety. Give me a shout if you've got any questions. Approve the meeting minutes from September 13, 2023. Ratify the payment of the bills for September of 2023 in the amount of $1,783,570.01. Accept the treasurer's report as of August 31st, 2023. Approve the BSTI additional costs for services related to the Bishop 2 property in the amount of $15,000. Yeah, I know. Deb just left. Go get her, Al.
Oh, poor Al.
Terminate Arrow as an engineer. That's just a joke. And finally, accept the revised proposal from McMahon, a Bowman Company for Patriots Path Sidewalk Extension Project to authorize additional underground utility exploration by soft dig / underground services in the amount of $3,400 for a total not to exceed $216,190. Any questions?
None.
Can I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Yeah, motion to accept the consent agenda is read.
All in, do I have a second?
that. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and is passed.
Congratulations.
And at this point in time, congratulations to the Fightin' Phils. And here's my tomahawk. We're adjourned.